meeting of the Tennessee Real Estate Commission will come to order. Ms. Maxwell, do you have a disclaimer that you'd like to read into the record regarding our meeting and notice, and then call the roll, please?
Notice of the February 7, 2018 meeting of the Real Estate Commission, including date, time, and location, has been noticed on the Tennessee Real Estate website since November 1, 2017. Additionally, this month's agenda has been posted on the website since Friday, February 2, 2018.
Thank you. Will you call the roll now?
Yes. Commissioner Bloom?
Here.
Commissioner Douglas?
Here.
Commissioner Franks?
Here.
Commissioner Hales?
Here.
Commissioner Horn?
Here.
Commissioner McMullen?
Here.
Commissioner Taylor?
Here.
Commissioner Wood? Chairman Grease? You have a quorum.
Thank you. Commissioner Horn, would you be willing to lead us in an opening prayer and then lead the pledge? Thank you.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you for this time together. We thank you that things as well as they are, we ask your special blessings upon the commission today, that we may do those things, Lord, that the people need, that's helpful. And Lord, right now we pray for those that are sick, and especially the flu and all these other diseases that's going around at this time. We ask for a blessed day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Raise the flag. Let's pledge. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, the agenda for today's meeting was circulated prior to the meeting. Does anyone have any changes they would like to make to the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as submitted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. The next item on our agenda then would be the approval of minutes from the January 2018 meeting, which were circulated prior to the meeting. Does anyone have any changes that they would like to make to the minutes? The only thing I noticed was there are several places where council is spelled C-O-U-N-C-I-L, and it should be C-O-U-N-S-E-L. Other than that, they looked good to me. Any other changes? All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes as distributed.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the January 2018 meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. Our next item is a, summary suspension informal conference involving Mr. Anthony Willoughby. Who'll be handling that? Okay, Ms. Smith, how are you today? I'm good, thank you. Is Mr. Willoughby present?
Yes.
Okay. Give us just an overview of, this is not something we do very often, so give us an overview of kind of the procedure that we're going to be going through here today.
Absolutely. We presented this information regarding the open complaints against Mr. Willoughby at the last meeting in January, and the commission voted to summarily suspend Mr. Willoughby. And an attorney contacted us that evening after the meeting by email on Mr. Willoughby's behalf, and requested another opportunity to be heard because he was unable to be at the January informal conference. And Mr. Willoughby is here today, and so we wanted to give him a chance to present his argument as to why he should not be summarily suspended. And just to go over the statute, Tennessee Code.
Ms. Smith, if I could for just a second.
Sure.
Are you Mr. Willoughby, or where's Mr. Willoughby?
Sorry, I thought he was.
Okay. So is there
he's-
anyone here on behalf of Mr. Willoughby? Okay.
I apologize.
That's okay. So currently the license is suspended. Is that right?
Yes, it is currently summarily suspended.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So.
And my understanding, it sounded like there was going to be a request that we reconsider that based on some new information that we were going to receive from Mr. Willoughby or his attorney.
That was his request.
Okay.
It was due to illness that he was not able to attend the January informal conference. So I had not heard otherwise that he was not coming.
Okay.
I had gotten multiple confirmations that he would be here. So I guess that.
We do have some weather this morning, and my recommendation, if it's okay with you, would be that we postpone this matter until later in the meeting for a few minutes just to see if Mr. Willoughby or his attorney shows up. And then at that time, we could take it out of order on the agenda. Would there be any objection to that? Is that okay? All right. If that's okay with you, why don't we just wait and see if they show up, and we'll take it at that time.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So we're running a little bit ahead now, but we had an informal appearance from Justin Jones on the agenda at 9:15. I assume he's not here yet.
I have not heard that he's here, so we might just wait until
Okay.
kind of closer to 9:15.
Okay. Why don't we go to some of the other items on our agenda, and then we will come back to that one. I think the next up item was our education director's report. Mr. White,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Good
are you ready
morning.
to go? Good morning.
I call your attention to the education report on your iPads. I have reviewed all of these matters, including the providers, the courses, and the instructors designated F1 through F24. I submit them that they are in compliance with your rules and regulations. I submit them for approval.
All right. Thank you, Mr. White. Are there any questions about the courses numbered F1 through F24 on the education report?
I have a question.
Okay. Ms. Taylor?
I really want some more information on
Fontaine, can you use your microphone?
F16 is about suicide prevention, a class on suicide.
I reviewed it, and I found it to be of interest to the licensees, just as it would be for all of us. But in a business setting, and in a just as far as the real estate industry in particular, we all part of the same culture, and this is a problem. I find it educational, but I think it would be of interest to our licensees.
Mr. White, did that one meet the categories of types of classes that we're allowed to approve within our rules?
I think it would meet with in those categories under our rules. Yes, yes.
And I noticed that it was the Tennessee Realtors is where it's coming from. Steve McDonald, who was our previous education director, so that gave me a little more credence for it. I didn't really understand it either, Fontaine, but maybe it's something that's needed.
Okay. Other questions about any of the classes, that one or any other ones, or comments that anyone would like to make? Was there a motion to approve the courses F1 through, what do we say, F24?
F24.
Okay.
Move to approve.
All right. We have a motion by Ms. Frank, seconded by Ms. Taylor to approve courses F1 through F24. Any additional discussion? All right, let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. I would like to note that I abstain with respect to F1. Mr. White, do you have some instructors that we need to approve?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I have delineated those with red. That I believe we have 6 new instructors I would like to submit that have been reviewed for approval.
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the instructors. Is there any discussion or questions with respect to the instructors? If not, let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. I would like to note that I abstain with respect to Mr. Kempf. Anything else for us today, Mr. White?
I have nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Commission.
Let's go on to the Executive Director's report.
This is going to be much later in the morning, but that's okay.
Well, would you like for us to maybe start in on the legal report, and you could save this for?
Well, I thought potentially the Arillo, because I know that might require all of you to be
Okay.
here.
Let's go ahead and
the
go into
commission.
that then.
So,
Fill us in on the Arillo.
So I had spoken to John last week, and I don't know if this is still the case, Rick, that you might not be able to attend.
That's correct.
And so I wanted to bring it back to the group to get other commissioners that might want to attend.
So, and also, since I have a limited time left on my term, assuming the governor makes a timely appointment to fill my space, if there is someone else from the commission who would be interested in going, that may be a better use of state resources. And so if I'm not able to go or I don't go, and so would that open 2 spots up?
That would open 2 spots.
Okay. All right. Would anyone like to go to the Arillo conference in April?
What I'm going to ask is, we had a sort of a list of who was to go in certain time slots, so who would be the next 2 to?
So last meeting I presented, it would have been after Rick, would have been Gary, and or I guess Gary would have been after Austin. And I know you had presented to have Marcia as a backup. After Gary would be Diane. And
So
then
let's start there. Commissioner Bloom, do you want to go?
Yes, I would like Marcia and Diane to go.
Okay.
What
Are
are the
you okay with
dates
going,
again?
Ms. Hills?
Like April 7th and something.
Oh, April 4th.
It's
April
early
4th.
April.
Yeah.
And I will say, I've already registered and have my hotel and flight.
okay,
So,
I think we could still reimburse you
okay.
for that.
Want to look at it? You look at
I'll
your
look at
calendar
it,
and see
yeah.
if
It's-
that would work.
I will. Who would be after me?
After you would be Commissioner Wood.
Right to something else when
I understand.
I'm gone.
I understand.
It's the 4th through the 7th.
Yes, I found it now, the 4th through the 7th. And Fontaine's birthday is the 8th.
That's right. Yeah. I can understand why that would be a really tight issue for your
Yes.
schedule.
Yeah. It's the big party she's throwing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I've got it on my calendar. All right. Why don't you look at that and let us know?
I will.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
After that would be Commissioner Taylor. So if we want to go ahead and, if you want to look at it, and assuming you can't go, if you also want to take a look at your
I
calendar.
hadn't looked at mine either, but,
Okay.
well, you are then Bobby, and then I would be after that. So let's just see who can go out of that line.
Okay.
And I think that makes sense.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay, we'll look at that and we will come back to that issue. So at this point then, would it make sense to go ahead and start the legal report?
I think it would be best to go ahead and do the stuff that requires a vote.
Okay.
May I ask?
Yes.
What time are Austin and I going over to the Hill?
9:45.
9:45. Okay.
So the thought was to go ahead and take a break around 9:40,
Okay.
and then you all go up.
All right, well, let's go ahead then and start with the legal report. Hello?
He's
Yes. Perfect timing. Oh, good.
Welcome back.
Might be a new record, the quickest that we've gone to the legal report.
Well, it's the new leadership that we have in today.
Austin.
Yes.
We did just call Mr. Willoughby. He's on Charlotte Pike, so he
Okay.
is on his way, so he'll be here.
Very good. We will deal with that when he gets here. All right. So moving to the legal report now, let's start with the consent agenda. Are there any items that any member would like to take off of the consent agenda? That is 1 through 63 on the consent agenda. Any items that any member would like to take off of the consent agenda for discussion? Take your silence as a no. Although number 3 about the air conditioning was very entertaining to me. So, hearing nothing, then, is there a motion to approve the dismissal of the items that are on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Okay. Is there a second? They were all dismissed. Is that right? Yes. Okay. All right. So we have a motion from Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner Taylor, to dismiss 1 through 63 on the consent agenda. Any discussion?
Well, I never received that.
You never received the consent agenda?
No.
Oh, my goodness.
You didn't either, did
I didn't either.
Okay.
I reviewed it.
Okay. So
today.
you haven't had a chance to review the consent agenda?
I never saw it.
Okay.
But I'm going to rely on whatever
I reviewed
people who
it,
did
so
see it.
Okay. Well, do you want to just abstain from voting on the consent
I'll
agenda
do that.
then?
I'll do that.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion regarding the consent agenda? If not, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion to dismiss, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. That motion passes 6-0 with Commissioner Bloom abstaining. Okay, then, we will move on to the items that are on the February legal report. Is there a disclaimer that we need to read into the record at the beginning?
I would be happy to read it into it
Okay.
since I might go first.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan.
Sure. Any consent order authorized by the Commission should be signed by the respondent and returned within 30 days. If the consent order is not signed and returned within the allotted time, the matter may proceed to a formal hearing.
Thank you. Do you want to begin
I'll go
with
ahead and
number
start.
1
And
on the
let me
legal
just tell
report?
you that there are a lot of these, but if you can see, a lot of them are related to each other and with one person. Okay, so you saw that. Okay. Number 1, 2017-05-6641. Complainant is son of client of respondent. Complainant states respondent called parent dumbass and was trying to add $5,000 for asking price for home. Complainant states complainant grabbed phone, but respondent disconnected call. Complainant states complainant then went home and called respondent, who called complainant a dumbass, and told complainant that complainant should commit suicide as complainant was taking up space and air. Complainant states complainant is disabled but on Social Security and could purchase home. Complainant spoke with the principal broker, who told complainant there were two sides to every story. Respondent states that respondents wrote an offer on behalf of complainant's parent and emailed that offer to listing agent along with THDA addendum and copy of escrow check. Listing agent emailed a confirmation of agency, disclaimer notice, and other documents. 2 days later, listing agent called respondent and said a counteroffer was being sent for $5,000 more than original offer, but respondent did not receive that counter. Next day, respondent met with client, explained the counteroffer, and client signed all disclosures. Respondent told client that once counter had been received, respondent would call client so client could sign what client had verbally agreed to. About 1 hour later, client sent a text to respondent saying client thought previous price was what client agreed on, and then stated respondent said no on closing. Respondent then called client, who said, "You're fired and I withdraw my offer." Client then accused respondent of defrauding government by trying to add money to purchase price. Client then texted listing agent to withdraw offer. Complainant then called respondent making threats and accused respondent of trying to make an extra $5,000 off the transaction to parent. Respondent states respondent had explained to client the counteroffer would cover closing off costs, but that seller was countering with $5,000 higher, which respondent states client understood in that meeting. This was explained to complainant, at which time complainant threatened lawsuit and threatened to ruin respondent's career. Complainant called principal broker and told broker that respondent was defrauding government and again threatened legal action. principal broker called respondent to get facts and then called complainant and explained that parents' wishes that to withdraw offer was accepted and escrow check would be returned. Complainant then thanked principal broker for prompt and courteous reply. In conversation with client asked if complainant had called harassing respondent and states that complainant had been harassing client, had called USDA lender and upset client so much to ask that complainant not call client anymore. The recommendation is to dismiss. There's nothing on the part of this particular respondent.
Move to accept council's recommendation to dismiss.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Hills to accept the recommendation to dismiss. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Mr. Bloom.
I think it's the second paragraph where it says that you should come in and sign something that we'd verbally agreed to. Was this ever in writing?
Was whatever in writing.
The contract.
The very first contract was in writing, yes. And there was a counteroffer of the $5,000, and that was explained to the complaint
But
to the
never
client.
signed.
But not signed. No, it was never agreed to.
So there was never a contract.
Yeah, there was a first contract, and this
But
was
it was countered.
It was countered, and the counter was never accepted.
So there was
And
never
then
a contract.
there was never a second contract
Right.
total, and that's when it was explained to that person that they could. This was the counter, and then they got their escrow money back because they didn't agree to the counter.
We call the first one an offer,
Yeah, I
not
think
a
it
contract.
was an offer.
Thank you. You're right. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't recognize you with your hair. I'm sorry. You got a new hairdo. That looks good.
You.
I think so.
That's what happens when you're sitting in a chair forever and ever and ever and ever.
Okay,
Thank you.
you've heard
You're
you've
right.
heard the recommendation. Is there any additional discussion? Mr. Horn, yes.
I'm a bit confused. It seems like two children fighting over a toy, and that's what I'm wondering. Exactly where do we come in on this? Are we here to, I don't know, I'm asking them, to settle any type of argument, I don't care what it is? Or do we have some things that we need to zero in on real estate business?
I think that's a good observation. We are here to do real estate business, and so it's the real estate rules and laws, and that's what we're here to decide upon, not just any childish argument or dispute that may come up. There are other forums for that kind of dispute.
No disagreement here, because remember, I have to read through it.
Right. All right.
But this did
yeah.
involve issues of contract, as I said, and they were alleging that this particular respondent was saying terrible things, and that could have been, if they were true, a failure to be responsible to your client or some other violations, but they weren't in this case.
Okay.
Number two,
We have, hold on.
Oh,
We have a motion and a second. Motion by Ms. Frank, seconded by Ms. Hills, to accept the council's recommendation to dismiss. Is there any other question or discussion? If not, let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. Number two, please.
Number two, this is why the first one was on this one. It's 2017-05-6661. Respondent is the principal broker to above and was included in the above response. That is, the respondent above talked about the principal broker and what the principal broker did and did not do. But respondent did not file a separate response, but appears to be supportive of the above statements. I think it's important to send a letter of instruction on the importance of filing their own response, just so that they are clear that if they are before us, they should file a response, even if it appears that they're participating in their respondent's answer.
Okay. You've heard the case and the council's recommendation. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Was the response on behalf of both or not?
It wasn't signed by both. It was just mentioned with both and what the principal broker did and didn't do.
So I just want to be sure we're consistent. I think there are other cases that we have today where it looks like maybe one was responding and maybe the other one wasn't.
Yes.
And now that may have been the other way, maybe where the principal broker responded
Yes.
and the affiliate didn't.
That's the other way around.
And I think the recommendation on those may have been a monetary civil penalty. So how was this one different from those?
Well, in the other ones that we're looking at today, that's exactly right. There did not to be. Sometimes an affiliate and respondent will file the same response. Sometimes it'll have the same thing and then it doesn't get in both files, but it's obvious they're responding together. Sometimes, in the case that we have later, the only response was from the principal broker and nothing at all from the respondent who did the actions. That's a little bit different than the principal broker who is mentioned and talked about in the response in this particular case. And the truth is, in all probability, that principal broker reviewed and talked about it, but there's nothing to show that, which is why I'm only recommending a letter of instruction so that they understand they've got to be clean and clear about it all. So that if indeed the next time it came around, sign your name to it.
And as a principal broker, I would say that that's probably a good thing to do. Most people don't get these letters and they don't know what to do. And so she may have just misunderstood. So I think a letter would be adequate.
Okay. Any additional discussion about this matter?
Well,
Ms. Taylor.
I tend to go the other way. If the broker doesn't respond, and I agree with you that we need to find anything, so I think she needs to be fined, as we usually do for non.
I often make that recommendation when there's been no response and no referral at all, so that it's absolutely clear the principal broker was not involved. I can't say that in this particular instance. I could just say there's nothing separate to show there was a response. I can't say the principal broker didn't participate in this particular response because the information is there. Their name's not on it. That's what gives me pause. I mean, again, it would be easy to look at this and make an assumption that they all participated, but I can't tell you that they participated. And that's why I'm thinking a letter of instruction, as opposed to when it's very clear and obvious that there was no communication and no response and no discussion.
Okay, you've heard the explanation. Did we have a motion?
I'd like to move that we accept council's recommendation.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Horn for a letter of instruction. Any additional discussion? Let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
No.
In the chair's opinion, there are 4 ayes and 2 noes. And so the motion carries with Commissioners Bloom and Taylor voting no. Just a moment. Mr. Green, I see you here. Is there a matter that you'd like to address us about?
No, I was coming down for the informal
Okay.
conference. And he is present, but the security guard may.
Okay, that's fine. As soon as he comes back, we'll go ahead and take that one. All right, Ms. Ryan, number 3.
2017-056-781. This is a TAR contract. Complainants are buyers and respondent is buyer's agent. Complainant states complainant put a bid on a certain house and do not know if respondent put in the bid or not. Complainant states respondent let complainant know about a house back on the market that complainant had viewed. But complainant states respondent is the agent for that house, and complainant states that there should have been a form signed by complainant. Complainant states respondent said someone in the family was going to buy but backed out. Complainant states complainant's sister and husband looked at house and that complainant put in a bid for $100,000 and the seller countered for $104,000 that had closing costs of $6,000 and complainant accepted. Complainant then states emails from a certain financial group with documents to sign and initial and that complainant had an appraisal done at the cost of $495. Complainant states the closing date was for 7/28, but then respondent ran into sister and husband and said the closing date had changed to 8/8 and financial group had told complainant. A new purchase and sale agreement was sent for signature and that all was to be notarized and sent back to the PLLC. 2 days later, complainant states respondent called saying seller wanted the full $104,000, not the $98,000 which complainant states was on closing papers, and that respondent wanted complainant to pay $6,000 over agreed amount because seller did not understand that seller had to pay respondent and the financial company. Complainant states this was a mistake respondent and seller made and complainant refused. The next day, complainant states respondent called and said respondent and financial company would take a cut and seller would take $103,000 and that new agreement would be sent and must be returned overnight. Complainant says FedEx got the wrong address and complainant did not get the documents till a few days later. Once received, complainant states the documents were signed and sent back, but respondent did not receive them timely. Complainant states complainant sent down payment to PLLC of 8/18 at a cost of $35.
Robert, what's a PLLC?
It's a limited liability company. It's not a corporation, but it's a partnership.
Yeah, but how does that?
It's the business portion
And the person purchasing it was purchasing in that name?
No. And then the person was not sent the purchase. I think the people buying it was selling it in that name. On 8/18 at the cost of $35, but then respondent called and said the house was sold to someone else. Complainant believes respondent sold the house to someone else to make more money for respondent. Respondent states the property was shown to complainant and a purchase price was offered to seller for $100,000 $620. Seller countered with $104,000, which was accepted by complainant. Respondent states respondent referred complainant to a mortgage company and owner of the company called to say contract needed to be $110,000 with seller paying $5,000 closing costs and a closing date of 7/28, but it was not until 8/8 when the loan was approved and the property ready to close. On 8/9, seller called respondent to say seller had thought the closing costs included respondent's commission, and when it was explained to seller, seller refused to sign documents and refused to return. Respondent states to actually receive commission, the sales price had to be raised to $116,000, including closing costs, and that the property had an appraisal of $130,000, so there was room to raise price. Respondent states complainant did not want to pay the $116,000, so loan officer and respondent cut fees in the original $110,000, and at this point all appear to be satisfied. On 8/18, closing attorney called to say closing documents had not been sent by seller. Respondent called seller, and seller informed respondent that seller had sold house to a woman who had contracted seller, and the price was $120,000, and that respondent was going to receive a check for $3,600 for half of the commission. Respondent states there is no earnest money collected by complainant and no extensions or addendums. Mortgage company sent letter to respondent stating the original closing date was supposed to be 7/28, and that as complainants lived in the West Coast, getting documents and paperwork took extra time delaying things, but the house was cleared to close 8/8. Mortgage company states that later company received call from respondent stating the seller would not sell for price and signed contract, and a new price was negotiated and documents sent for new closing on 8/18, and then company discovered seller never sent back documents and that seller sold to someone else. Contract for $110,000 was signed by seller. Listing licensee and selling licensee was respondent. No documents were included that respondent was facilitator or not agent of seller, and respondent did earn commission from the seller on this particular sale. While it does appear that this seller acted without respondent, it also appears that if respondent was representing seller, respondent should have had parties acknowledge and sign document to reflect the same. Considering respondent has serious interest in the sales price so that commission was recovered, it does appear that respondent was putting respondent's interest first. Therefore, my recommendation was for a $1,000 civil penalty for a violation of 62-13-404, failure to be loyal to the interest of the client, $1,000 civil penalty for violation 62-13-312, that should say A, acting for more than one party in a transaction without knowledge and consent in writing of all parties.
Commissioners, you've heard the case and the recommendation of counsel. Is there any discussion or a motion?
I have a question.
All right, Ms. Hills.
So we do know that the respondent was the listing agent.
Yes.
Okay.
Recommendation is for a $2,000 civil penalty. Is there a motion to accept that?
Motion to accept.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner Taylor for a $2,000 civil penalty. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 4, please.
Okay, number 4 and 5 are together.
Okay.
2017-058-321. Complainant and spouse separated and in divorce proceedings. Signed a commercial lease agreement for property owned by complainant and spouse. Complainant states complainants presented first potential lessee to respondent a month later, September 2016, but no agreement was signed. Complainant states in February 2017, complainant presented second potential lessee and a letter of intent was drafted but did not go into contract. In late March of 2017, complainant states there was no sign on building stating for lease, and complainant requested the same of respondent. On April 8, 2018, complainant states respondent told complainant that new signs were ordered but delayed, but complainant state no for lease sign had been placed on property. In March, complainant states complainant emailed respondent regarding status of property and told respondent of potential desire of spouse to place the property for sale. On May 12th, complainant emailed spouse and respondent about a sign and MLS listing, and spouse responded stating property is up for sale, and later that month, respondent states the property was being listed. That summer, complainant checked with another agent to see if the property was listed in MLS, but was told the listing could not be found. Complainant states someone told complainant that respondent had been working on a letter of intent with spouse alone, and complainant contacted respondent, giving respondent till then next morning to include complainant in discussions. Respondent emailed complainant with information about a potential lessee and reminded respondent that complainant was on a lease agreement. Complainant states that this lessee was presented by spouse, and complainant states the property was never in MLS or had signage, and so no one would know about lease potential. Complainant contacted principal broker and had a meeting asking that respondent no longer represent complainant. Emails between complainant and respondent showed communication, but the complainant did not like the way the listing was being handled. Respondent did not file a response, but principal broker did, and response was not signed or otherwise appeared to be respondent's response. Principal broker says that the property was listed in October 2015 and that spouse is not listed in the MLS or post-signed so that specific tenant could be sought out. Principal broker states the complainant and spouse are in the middle of bitter divorce, and respondent kept getting different requests from both sides and decided to deal with spouse, president of the company of the couple, as point person and decision maker. Principal broker states respondent was communicating through complainant's attorney and spouse's attorney, and that principal broker is now working with complainant in a deal that respondent had pending for lease of property. Principal broker states that given the divorce situation, principal broker is not sure there was a way to satisfy all parties, but that respondent behaved professionally in a tough situation. Principal broker believes complainant's frustrations are more with spouse than with respondent. My recommendation is a $1,000 civil penalty for failure to respond.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Ms. Franks.
Had the court ordered which of the two spouses should be in charge of the sale?
They were not in the divorce. They were in the divorce proceedings, so there was no order for anything outlining the differences in that. So at the time of this was going on, they were separated, still owned the interest, and they were both had the same interest in it.
So in that case, I think this licensee is also in trouble for not speaking with the other or including the other spouse.
Yes, and that would be true if I'm sure that's exactly what happened. But since I don't have the respondent's answer about exactly what the respondent did or didn't do, I can't make that assumption there, because it could be that indeed that did go on, but I don't have it.
Okay.
That's why I only recommended for the failure to respond.
Then I'll move to accept council's recommendation.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Franks, seconded by Commissioner Taylor to accept the recommendation of a $1,000 civil penalty. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 5.
Number 5, 2017-058261. This respondent is the principal broker of the above, and as you've already heard, this was a response by that principal broker. So my recommendation was to dismiss.
Move to dismiss.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Franks, seconded by Commissioner Hills to dismiss. Discussion? All in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Are you Mr. Willoughby?
I am, yes.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry about being late.
No problem. I know the weather is out there and traffic is sometimes
Yeah,
bad,
parked
so
in somebody else's
and you got to
park.
park. Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces. So I appreciate you being here. Are you prepared at this time? If so, we can go ahead and take your matter up right now so that you don't have to sit and wait for too long.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I brought some items I want to give you. Is that okay?
That's fine. Why don't you come on up, Miss Ryan? Can he sit there, or Mr. White? Can he sit there by you, or by you can sit in either one of these two chairs, either one of those two. That'll be fine. And we. So my understanding is that in January, and Miss Smith, will you be handling this matter, Miss Smith, or Mr. Green? Who will be handling it?
Yes.
You'll be handling Miss Smith.
I mean, I've pretty much said everything. That
Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. Good. Just want to make sure who's on deck. Okay. So my understanding is that we had some complaints, and so we had a summary, informal summary.
And a summary suspension after the informal conference that was held in January.
Yes, in January we had an informal conference that resulted in a summary suspension, and I understand, Mr. Willoughby, there's some you weren't able to attend, or your attorney wasn't able to attend, and so there's some additional information that you think we need to be aware of in order to reconsider the decision that we made. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, if you have some matters you'd like to give to us, you can feel free to do that now. And I will open the floor to you. And if you could just, in a couple of minutes, maybe summarize the information that you're giving us and the additional information that you think we need to be aware of. Okay. If you don't mind, you can step up to that podium right there if you'd like, and just share that information with us and what else you'd like for us to know. And if we have any questions, we will ask those. Mr. Willoughby.
And I would very much like for you to take about 2 minutes to look at that. It will probably answer quite a few questions. The front page, and then you got the last 7 pages would answer probably a lot of your questions. But in asking forgiveness for last month, I've got, you look at those last pages, got some personal things happening, and as well as right now, that was conflicting and just kind of jarred me from the meeting date, which is dealing with doctors and that sort of thing. Wasn't intentional. Oh, I know I need to be here.
Yeah, I understand, and we appreciate you being here today. And so I think everybody is taking just a minute maybe to look at what you've handed us.
Please.
And
that'll be helpful. Yes.
So give us just a minute to do that.
Please. Thank you.
One need additional time to finish going through the materials that we've received? Ms. Smith, if I could just ask one procedural question, and then Mr. Willoughby will get to you. I understand right now we are in Mr. Willoughby's license is in a suspended status based on the hearing we had last month, and we're being asked to reconsider that at this time. That temporary suspension will continue until there's a formal hearing, unless we make a contrary decision today. Is that right?
Yes.
And when is that hearing scheduled for?
March 7th.
For next month?
Yes.
Okay, got it. All right. Anybody else need another minute to look at the paperwork? All right, Mr. Willoughby, why don't you share with us any information that you think we should consider? And the question is, should we set aside the temporary suspension to allow you to continue to operate at least up through March the 7th, when we would have the formal hearing where we would really hear all the evidence? So I think that's the question we have in front of us today.
Okay. And what's your name again, sir?
Austin McMullen.
McMullen. Great.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Bloom, good to see you. That's one of our Memphis teachers there. Well, first of all, let me say this. The information that this board, this panel has been given to make your decision last month was based on just information without the other side of the story or the other slice of bread to make the sandwich. And it must look pretty bad from the basis of that. But let me say this. The leasing agency that I allowed to work, did you all read that front page, most of it on the repeat? The leasing agency that I allowed in my office a couple of years ago was more or less to allow a few people to have jobs that didn't, and worked very well. There are hundreds of satisfied clients. These 5 were isolated. Now, in the time frame that this is dated, I believe it's like from last spring and summer and that sort of thing. I believe it happened around that time frame. I'm not making excuses. I've been around the real estate business since the age of 24 and 57. I opened my company when I was 29. And I've done every kind of education I could do to make sure I'm a viable member of society. I've run the National Association of Real Estate Brokers as a director for 9 years, going to cities all over the country, establishing programs to help housing. In fact, myself, I think Carol Tate used to be a member of this board. I was at Northern, Oliver Payne, and a few others back in the mid-'90s. Right around my first presidency of the organization, we started the Down Payment Assistance Program. We wrote that program, administered to the city of Memphis, which was the director at that time, Robert Liscombe. He helped us. He submitted it to Washington, D.C., got it submitted, and we today operate on programs that I and others like me help to implement around the country. I don't say that for any reason to pat myself on the back. It's who I am and what I do. And I'm saying that this information, I've been in business over 30 years. My brokerage is fine. But the leasing agency in the downtime of real estate, and a lot of starving agents wanted to do some work, and I allowed it in my office. We really didn't have a problem. But last spring, I was diagnosed with cancer. And out of the office a lot, kind of big blow to me, and I'm out of the office a lot, so I allowed that to go on. I had people running things in that leasing department that I trusted, mature people, 50, 60 years old people, been around a long time, known them, and let them run that because that's their living at the time. And I didn't watch it, and that's what I'm guilty of. I did not watch it. I imagine they were able to rob Peter to pay Paul to keep me away from knowing what was going on because everything looked pretty obviously okay when I was in the office. Now, most of these people I have not met or seen. I think one or two I may have. I don't know. But basically, I say this on the front end, as I mentioned in my statement. I stand responsible for anything that goes on in my camp, whether I know about it or not, because I know the rule on that, and I'm the broker. And therefore, I stand responsible and make sure all these people were restored through my attorney, Larry Wiseman. So all of them, that's off the table now as far as that goes. I'm not making excuses. I did not watch it, but once I knew this thing had bubbled, I shut it down in August and told them they had to move out of my office or just shut it down. They wanted to continue to work, so they opened another shop. You'll see the last couple of pages in my package showing they opened a corporation elsewhere and not under my brokerage. From September 1st, they signed off to be a processing company for management companies. What that thing does is this. There's not any property management involved or anything like that. What they do is, for example, Ms. McMullen, if you're a management company, you don't want to fool with all these people. They sort through all the people, do their applications, submit packages to you on a particular property with all their data in it. If you choose one and lease to that person, then you will send a commission back or a fee, typically about 1/2 of the first month rent. Now, many times the management companies are responsible for monies because they go over to the management companies with the package. For example, that first example in here, which is in the second page in your packet, who was this one? This was LaTanya Dortch. LaTanya Dortch is working with Dolores Jones in my office. I didn't really follow it, but I was in the office one day. She came in complaining about money. So what happened, you'll find, if you look through there, you'll see a letter from me to that management company, and you'll see a letter from Ms. Dortch signed that if she does not sign at least by a certain time, she would forfeit her money. All those on the front end. We don't control any of those things. The management companies control all of that. That's their deal. All the company does is prepare paperwork for the management company. And, of course, if they release to them, they get a fee. So this document about
Mr.
5
Willoughby,
pages
can I ask you a question real quick? Mr.
Yes,
Willoughby,
yes.
earlier on you mentioned a leasing agency that was operating in your office. Is that the same as the management company that you're talking about? Or is
No,
that
there's
different?
no management in my office.
Okay, got you. Okay,
You may
thank
own XYZ management company. You have 100 houses that you have 10 available a month. You may own ABC management company. You have 5, 6 available. And they'll send those vacancies over to the leasing people. Okay, they will in turn go out and take photos, inspect, advertise, get people in, get their applications, data, send them out. So that's that sort of thing. No
And are they
management.
licensed? Are they licensed?
Pardon me?
Are they licensed?
No, the
management
processing
company.
company. Now, when they're working under my brokerage, yeah, Dolores Jones, those are licensed. There were a few assistants that worked paperwork in the office. But only the licensed people dealt with the exterior as far as dealing with people. But now that they're not under my brokerage, all of them from September 1 on work only as processors only. You'll find that many companies around Memphis, such as Reed and First Key, and go on and on, that what they do is they allow the tenants to show themselves the houses, which is okay, provided they've shown ID and that sort of thing. And that's exactly what these guys are doing. So they had no need to go out and show this process and get paid. But prior to that, there were licensed people in my office that assisted with these people. And there are a couple licensed people over there now, but they're not working under my brokerage, but they only do processing. If you look at their signed mission statement about 7 or 8 pages from the rear, you'll see where they sign that they're operating as only a processing company, and they only do processing only. Not they're prohibited from showing houses or anything like that. And you'll see that in that packet. They signed those back at the time they moved out. That's what they're going to do, process. But I had to get them out of my office because a lot of things went on beyond my knowledge. Again, I'm not making excuses. I'm responsible for everything that goes on in my office, whether I know about it or not.
I'm not understanding what WW Leasing, is that a separate entity than your real estate company?
Correct. I removed all of that out of my company.
But at one time they were working in your office?
Yes, for a couple of years, as a matter of fact.
So was it just renting space from you then? Had nothing to do with your business? No monies were run through your company?
Well, I had a family member working it, so they didn't have to rent space, but they did their own thing, yes.
Did they run money through your company?
No, not through my company. They handled their own books.
Okay.
Handled their own books. They still do. Separate accounts, everything, handled their own books. And again, it wasn't profitable, but it was a means to help some guys that needed help. I'm not patting myself on the back for anything right now. I'm just trying to lay it out how I did that, why I agreed to it. But in any case, I'm trying to right now give you understanding how that thing worked so it can be perceived one way and be another, depending on who's talking about it. And this first case I was telling you about with Dortch, she signed a document because she wanted an extended time with that management company to hold the property. And you'll see that documentation here from the document she signed on to the email sent to the management company asking if they're going to approve her. And to the point in time she didn't sign at the time, and they forfeited part of her money. They kept the money. They had all the money. You'll see copies of the checks sent over to them. They had the money. So in perception, those guys are taking money, but they were sending the money over with the packages to the management companies. They do what they will. Well, they refused to give her back that last month, and she came in my office. I heard her talking to Miss Jones one day. I was about to say a moment ago, and I walked out and said, well, ma'am, who are you? What's going on, and what can I do for you? Because there seems to be a problem out here. And she mentioned what's going on. So I made a phone call to that management company and said, hey, what's going on with this? Why are you having a problem with this lady? And they explained that to me. And, of course, I in turn told them, well, your problem is going to be over there, ma'am, because they've got your money. you might want to go over there. But she refused, and she kept coming back. So you see, I wrote a letter to the management company asking them, hey, and I've reviewed the file. In my opinion, this lady's in good standing, and you are not agreeing to what you agreed to, and give her money back. So all that's in there. Again, this conversation currently is to help you understand.
When was that letter, Mr. Willoughby?
It's in here. Let me see. It's an email, actually.
The one involving Miss Dortch?
Yes. Probably behind the checks. I hope it's in here. It should have been in here. The checks went over to Slava Boss, and he was the broker. Yeah, here it is here. It's right behind the checks in that first section. And that's some gentleman by the name of Fred, which is a partner. And then you have Slava, which is the owner. And pleading her case to them, just trying to intervene. And the purpose of the picture I'm painting right now is that people's monies aren't just being taken, that sort of thing. Things come up in the middle of transactions beyond the control of the guys working, and they have to be dealt with. The individuals, on the other hand, that come in, they don't care about that. They know what they want their money, and they don't care about the part in the middle. And basically, the part in the middle is very important because that's the way things happen, the way this is happening here. And these are emails and pleadings and everything else on behalf of this person, because it's totally out of control of the guys working. Once it gets over to the management company, they're in complete control for denials, approvals, what they're going to do on down the line.
Okay.
So all I'm saying is this. That's pretty much
just a second.
how...
I believe Mr. Bloom has a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Willoughby.
Yes, sir.
You've really confused me. I don't really understand anything you've said.
Okay. Does anybody understand anything I said?
Wait a minute.
Should I start over?
All
Okay.
we deal with are broker's license and agent's license. Now, you're telling me about a management company and another company that works under your brokerage operation?
No, none of them work under my
Well, why did we write checks last month
To them?
all these people?
To the management companies?
Well, we've got a bunch of checks in here you wrote last month to
To the
people.
management companies. To the management company. To
Why
Slava
did you
Boss
do
and-
that? Why did you do that?
Okay. Why
would you
is
pay
everybody
to the
unclear
management
why I did that?
No, answer that question. Answer his question.
Because the management companies are independent entities that manage rental properties. Our company never has managed rental properties. What they do is hire
What
the
authority
leasing.
do they have to manage rental properties?
Pardon me?
What authority do they have to manage rental properties for others?
Let me give you an example. There's one company in Memphis called Marathon Management. They manage over 300 or 400 properties. That's their company. It's nothing to do with us. But they don't have time to advertise and meet with people and pull credit and then put packages together. They don't have time, so that's why they hire the leasing people to do that for them. So the leasing people come in on all of that, including their deposit, and it's sent over to you if you're the management company to review. And if you approve that person, they'll come to your office and sign the lease, and you'll send a check back for that service. So the management companies are all independent. There's about 10 of them around town that use that type of service. And they don't want to do that detailed work. But the management companies have nothing to do with our company or never have. Just doing paperwork for them. They'll say, okay, every week they'll send them what they got vacant. Say, advertise these, get people in, send me the packages.
So they have nothing to do with your company, but
No.
you wrote a bunch of checks back.
Because
to them.
we have to send the money over to them. The deposits that when the individuals come in and they want to hold a house that you have, you're the management company, we send you their package with their deposit.
But you told me that you don't handle any of their money.
Pardon
Why
me?
are you sending them checks if you don't handle any of their money?
No. I said I don't handle. When I say we,
Your company.
the leasing agency, the leasing people. I said we don't co-mingle our monies. I thought that was a question you were asking.
But why are you writing checks to them then?
Pardon me?
Why are you writing checks to them then?
To cover the person's monies that they brought in for that management company.
And I also notice,
I mean, that's the
on a
reason
lot
for
of
it.
these things that you've given us, these things were executed after last month's meeting.
Like, for example?
Like, for example, the release of claims from Miss Dortch.
Oh, yeah, that was...
the check for Miss Dortch. 125.18.
Yeah, I thought I clarified that in the beginning of my conversation. These people that had claims of monies that were not refunded to them were made whole.
When?
Through me, in your packet there.
When?
Well, whatever date it says on there.
After the meeting in January.
After the last
Oh,
meeting.
yes, is that what you're asking me? Yes, but that was not tailored that way. It was just a situation that I had to investigate. Again, I didn't have full knowledge of all of this.
If you had taken care of this before your meeting last month, and you didn't attend the last meeting, right? Were you here for the last
I
meeting?
did not.
Okay. So, after that meeting, did you watch the video of what happened about your case?
I never heard about
You
it.
didn't? Okay.
I never heard about the video.
So, but it was
I didn't know-
after the
I didn't know
fact
about
that
the
you
video.
have done this and returned the money, right?
I did this to clear my name before this panel, as I started in my statement, and I'm going through the example here. I will have to go back to that management company and get my money. I'm just trying to make these people whole to show my responsibility for the company, even though I don't have the money.
So this money
That
came out
wasn't
of your
money we
company,
had.
not the management company didn't pay
Correct.
the storage.
Correct.
So you personally paid it.
Correct.
Why were you responsible to personally pay it?
I'm not. I'm responsible to my office for anything goes in. I'm responsible to this board.
But
And I
what
wanna show
happened
this
in your
board-
office that caused you to write these checks?
Pardon me?
What happened in your office that caused you to write these checks?
Nothing happened in my office. What do you mean? What happened? I don't understand the question.
You said you were responsible.
I'm responsible for any controversy. I take responsibility for any controversy that takes place in my office. The reason these people were made whole because he made accusation to this panel, and this panel is holding me responsible for them. And basically, I want to get that off the table so I can talk to you guys. If any other money got to be redeemed to my office or to me, I'll go back to the management company and go back and sue or whatever, because they're not going to give it to her, and that thing's not going to end. Just
So
trying to put
basically,
an end
your
to it.
defense is that you've paid these people back to make them whole, and so you're now asking us if we can relieve you of what was done at the last meeting. Is that correct? Now that you've made
No,
these
that's
people
not.
whole?
That's not entirely correct. The reason I'm going through detail with you, ma'am, is to help you to understand how this all came about. It wasn't as it perceived to be, as if money was taken and not given back. I'm giving you the information here for a reason, so you can understand how it bubbled to that point. How you can understand. I don't know if you're seeing what I'm giving you right now in the scenario I'm trying to give you in this first example, so you will have an understanding of the mechanisms that take place in the process. Yeah, that's just trying to help you understand what's
I think we
happening.
do understand that
Yeah.
now. Mr. Horn
Yeah.
had a question.
Okay.
Yes, sir. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for your hard work. There's a lot
Yes, sir.
you've done to put this together.
Yes, sir.
But however, I do have one small problem. That was the same release of all claims. You say that you did nothing wrong, but yet you are paying somebody. And you're asking them to sign to absorb or to take the
Peace.
the pressure off of you. And I don't understand that. I've heard everything that you said here, but when I get to this, I have a real problem, because if you are really not to blame to any of this, why would you send them something like this and send them money?
Can I respond?
Sure.
Okay, first of all, I never made the statement we've done nothing wrong. I never made the statement there's nothing wrongdoing in my camp. I made the statement that if there was any wrongdoing, I stand responsible and I'll make it whole. And I did that. I never said those words, nothing wrong happened. I said there's some clarification has been taking place here to see exactly what did happen. I'm trying to help you with that. And what I would do to make them whole is to make this board see that I'm a responsible man, and I'll go back to Slava and I will continue to try to get that money back. He may never give it. I may have to sue him. But I'm trying to make these people whole because they came to my office. And maybe they have a misunderstanding. Maybe they don't understand completely, and evidently they don't because they're complaining to this board. So this board has issues with me. These people have issues with me, and I don't need that right now in my situation. And I want to keep dwelling on that. If you look at the last pages of my packet, you'll see the things I'm dealing with as far as the medical and that sort of thing, and I'm dealing with the cancer treatments, and I'm supposed to be there this afternoon. They tell me I got to be there. I mean, I'm not saying that for anything other than time conflict. This is some things people go through every day, and I'm not actually simply there. But I want to get some things off of my plate so I can deal with my life. And these things are complicated. It's very important to me that this board understand me and what I do and how I do it, and that I'm okay. I'm not a risk to society. I'm a real estate broker. And pretty much what I deal with is real estate sales. And in that, I have no dealing, I had no personal hands-on, but it happened in my office, so I took responsibility for it. I got it out of my office. I'm saying to this board, I'm not dealing with that. I'm not going to deal with that. I'm not going to allow that in. I'll continue to do what I do best as real estate brokerage, and you can trust me with that because that's what I've always done. I've never had issues with that.
That's good. Thank you for that explanation. I think we understand that, and we've had a chance to review this. I want to give Ms. Smith a chance just to see if she has anything she would like for us to consider, and then we will talk about it and make a decision.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Willoughby. You can have a seat right here at the table at the front if you'd like. Ms. Smith, is there anything you'd like for us to consider?
Chairman,
or Mr. Green?
For the record, I'm Mark Green, Chief Counsel, Real Estate, or Department of Commerce and Insurance, where the Real Estate Commission is housed. I don't really have any additional commentary. I think it shows on itself in Mr. Willoughby's response. I will point out that yes, the people, the complainants that we have on record, have been apparently reimbursed since our January meeting. I will say that complaints were opened in 2017, and we did get responses from Mr. Willoughby on 4 of the 5 cases. So the January meeting was not the original point in which Mr. Willoughby was apprised of these complaints. At this point, we have a scheduled hearing in March of this year, which is basically 30 days from now. It would be the state's recommendation, based upon the information that has now been presented by both sides, that the suspension temporarily that is in place be kept in place until the hearing.
Thank you for that explanation and recommendation, and Mr. Willoughby, thank you for your information that you've given us as well. Yeah, briefly, because we do have an agenda that we're trying to stick to. Yeah.
Attorney Green?
Green.
I do respect that, and my position to this board, as far as the suspension goes, as far as the dealings with all these people and that type of activity, that activity was removed from my office back around the time that we talked about it. The monies have not been available to make. Oh, this is borrowed. The monies are due to the cancer and me not being able to work. I have not worked for months in that time frame. So it was not a situation that I knew about and did nothing about. I did not have the money to do anything about it. And secondly, I have no dealings with any of that type of activity in my office. And what I do, I've done for many years, Mr. Green, and I'm very well trusted with that, which is just normal real estate sales. I have no dealings with any of that stuff whatsoever. Anymore, and I won't have any.
Thank you, Mr. Willoughby.
So I'm asking you to reconsider.
Yeah, I understand. We understand the request.
For that reason, yeah.
You've heard the request from Mr. Willoughby to reconsider, and had a chance to ask him questions and seen his information. You've heard the state's response and the recommendation to maintain the suspension in place pending the upcoming March 7th hearing. Is there a motion that anyone would like to make one way or the other? Ms. Taylor.
I'll make the motion that we maintain his suspension for the additional until his hearing in March.
Okay. You've heard the motion from Commissioner Taylor. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Mr. Douglas has seconded the motion. Any discussion? Mr. Horn.
It's never been made clear to me exactly what the suspension do to his business, and why is it so necessary to move it for a month? And I'd just like to know what the indications are and what the penalties is.
Well, the suspension would, if this motion carries, the suspension would stay in place pending the formal hearing that we have next month. And while Mr. Willoughby's license is suspended, he can't carry on any of the real estate activities under the statute that require a license. And he hasn't been able to since we had that hearing back in January.
What is he doing now?
Well, apparently, we've gotten some information about that he has been trying to reconcile issues with some of these complaining people who had filed complaints with the state. Any additional questions or discussion?
I did have
Mr. Douglas?
just a quick question.
Yeah.
Mr. Willoughby, with regard to LaTanya Dortch, I see that you gave her a refund check, from your company for $995. If the leasing company was simply a processing company, the refund that you gave her for $995, did she originally write the check to your leasing company, or was the check written to the management company that you're representing as a processing company?
It was originally written to the leasing company and sent over to the manager. There should be checks in there sending the money over to them.
So it was written to Willoughby Leasing?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Thank you.
But Willoughby Leasing is a separate corporation, Willoughby Realtors. Yeah.
Okay. Any additional discussion? Are we ready to vote? All right, all those in favor of the motion to maintain the suspension in place will vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed will vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Mr. Willoughby, the suspension is still in place. We do have the formal hearing next month, and at that time, you do have the right to be present and to have an attorney if you would like, and we will be able to hear all the evidence that you would like for us to hear at that time to make a complete decision on everything. Okay?
Let me ask you a question. I've got people waiting. So this is based on the activity of the leasing agency, all of the suspensions. Is that correct?
Mr. Willoughby, the suspension was based on all the information that we had in front of us. And all the information that we had in front of us. And so you should be prepared to present your case next month. Okay? The commission will stand in adjournment at this time, subject to coming back in, about 10 or 15 minutes probably. We'll take a short break. Okay? Thank you.
We'll go back on the agenda with informal appearance is Justin Jones here? Mr. Jones, if you want to come forward. Ms. Maxwell, where would you like for him to sit? Right here? Swear him in first.
Can you both stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Maxwell?
Okay, so today we have applicant Justin Jones, and he has his principal broker with him, Travis Patterson. Mr. Jones has not yet taken the real estate exam for affiliate broker. Mr. Jones's principal broker, Travis Patterson, is an active licensed broker. Mr. Patterson is responsible for supervising 50-plus affiliate and broker licensees, and there have been no disciplinary sanctions. The firm is First National Realty. The summary of the disciplinary sanction is unlawful possession of marijuana with intent. Mr. Jones pled guilty to the above referenced charge and received 2 years of supervised probation. Mr. Jones has completed all probation requirements, and these statements can be found on your iPads. Okay, correction. He has already taken the exam. And have you passed? He's already passed the exam. If you would like for him to...
Mr. Jones, if you'd like to tell us anything you'd like to tell us about this? And to move forward, and the mic will light up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. No, anything that I want to say is, like she explained, like in 2010, I did have that charge, and I did plead guilty to it because I'm a responsible man. I took responsible for my action. Even if it wasn't on my behalf, I still stepped up no matter what. Since then, the judge ordered me to complete probation. I completed the probation without any occurrences from 2010 to 2012. That's how long I fought the case, for 2 years. So you got 2 years that nothing happened, and then you got 2 years that I started probation in 2012 to 2014. 2012 to 2014. I didn't have an occurrence then. The judge ordered me to stay in school at that point. I did stay in school. I didn't complete it, but I did pursue other options. I started my own fashion clothing store. It's a live brick and mortar store that I did start on my own. And since then, I have had, like I said, 0 occurrences. I'm a reformed man. I only want to move forward with my life, and everything that has happened in the past, it's in the past.
What was the violation, Mr. Jones?
Possession, sir.
Pardon me?
Possession of marijuana.
Were you smoking it?
No, sir.
Were you selling it?
No, sir. I was in the environment where there were other people around, and it was on the scene without my knowledge at that time. And like I said, no matter the condition, I took up responsibility for it at that time.
Oh, me. I have a fellow in my office who was making and using and selling crack cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
He served his time in a Mississippi federal prison. And he was allowed to take his test and passed. And 6 years ago, he started selling real estate. And Friday night, not this Friday, but next Friday night, he'll get his $1 million Lifetime Achievement Award, 5 years in a row. So you can do it. Just put all that in your back pocket. Don't ever do that again. And this business can serve you very well. I, for one, appreciate you very much being here. I know that's uncomfortable telling about all that, but I would like to hear from your broker and what he's going to do for you to keep you on the straight and narrow.
Mr. Patterson, if you can might be able to pull that mic towards you.
Morning, everybody. I am Travis Patterson. I will be his sponsoring broker, and I've already drilled in his head that I play this real estate business by the rules, and so I will be supervising him very tightly on doing the right thing at all times, even when I'm not available. And like the young lady did explain, I do have over 50. I actually have about 280 agents that I manage on a daily. And I drill this into their head just to stay within compliance with the real estate business. And I know Justin, I've been knowing him before he wanted to become an agent, and I can tell you now he's a really, really good guy. He has a good head on his shoulders. He does operate a brick and mortar fashion store right next to right across the street from the University of Memphis. So it's a booming business. So he's very a people person, very personable. And unfortunately, he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And things happen. He served his time, and I can assure you he probably won't go back down that direction, especially if he's going to be under my supervision and my leadership. If he's not around me or anybody that can influence him, I can probably assure you he's still going to be around positive influences as well. But like I said, I'm going to make sure that he learns this business and play the games by the rules so he can stay out of trouble and just see how far he can go. And I'm quite sure he'll do well in that industry in Memphis.
Questions?
Mr. Patterson, what kind of education program do you have for him for a new agent?
I have training sessions every Tuesday and Thursday at my office from 6 to 9 p.m. And we go over different things like contract training, sales negotiations, mortgages, things in the real estate business, and even on just motivation and inspirational training sessions. So he's free to attend those every Tuesday and Thursday at my office after hours.
He's free to attend them. He's not. There's not required.
Not required, but we do have those every Tuesday and Thursday.
And what about mentoring program? Do you have any sort of mentoring program for a new agent?
I don't have a per se mentoring program, but I have been the mentor for those agents, especially new agents in the millennial age too that comes in. So my door is always open. I'm there every morning from at least 9 to 12 every morning, and if they need any assistance, I'm always there for them.
It's just a question of me, and it's teaching me something.
Yes, ma'am.
When you have a new agent, for instance, and he goes to list his first house, do you have someone go with him, or do
Absolutely,
you go
yes.
with him on his first? And what about his first taking somebody out to buy a house.
Yes,
What
and-
about that?
Yes, on both of those transactions, for the first 5 deals for my new agents, if they're brand new, I'm probably going to be the one that's going to guide them through it, and we'll partner up with the client or customer, and I kind of teach them the ropes as we go along. But I prep them before we get to those meetings. So if we have a meeting with a client, I get all paperwork together and explain to him what we're going to talk and discuss, and then we go out in the field and put boots on the ground and go for it. And for the first 5 deals, he should know the process pretty well by then. So I'm always there on listing appointments and also on buyer consultations.
I have another question too. What about writing his first offer? Do you go over it hopefully beforehand, and then after it's written, do you
Yes, ma'am.
make sure that it's proper? Because I've been in the real estate for a lot of years, and I find sometimes that new agents drop a lot of
Yes, ma'am.
pieces.
You're
Let's
absolutely
put it that way.
correct. Yes, ma'am. And I drill that into my agents too. I like to write neat contracts, and we know we do it electronically now. So, but yeah, I make sure we don't have any blanks. If we do have any blanks, put something there, and make sure that everything on the contract is clearly applied to the contract actually, and make sure that they understand what they're writing and how to write a contract. So that is one of the first lessons that I have in my new agent training is contract writing. Mm-hmm.
Is you said First National Realty, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Larry Mayow.
Larry Mayow.
He is, in my opinion, one of the smartest men on the face of the earth.
Yes, he is.
He's a good guy to work with.
A friend of mine too.
I just want to say I wish you well.
I just got a couple of questions. You didn't elaborate much on your sentence and your involvement with police. Were you fined or anything? Have you satisfied?
Yes, I did have to pay a restitution.
Huh?
I did have to pay a restitution.
Okay, have you satisfied your obligation?
Yes, sir. Like I said, this is over 8 years ago. So
Okay.
at
So
this
you're
point,
not on paper then, is that right?
say one more time, sir.
So you're not on paper.
No, like I said, I served 2 years of my sentence already on probation. That's complete, and like I said, this being 8 years ago, I've since done major things since then.
Travis, Mr. Patterson, why you want to fool with this guy?
I like the guy. I think he's got a lot of ambition, actually. People, we make mistakes growing up, and I think he served his time. I think he learned his lesson. And just looking at me and as a leader for him, I think he wants to go down my route. So I like to show him the ropes.
Well, now, if he does get in trouble, do you have a plan to help him?
Good question. Honestly, I don't have a plan for him, but I think
Have you ever thought about it?
Yeah, I have thought about it.
Okay.
The best thing I can do is just kind of mentor him and just stay in his corner and just give him the insights and show him what not to do. We saw some things actually today that we don't want to deal with, and and I don't want to slap anyone on the wrist about things that he should know. And integrity should be inside him anyway, so you should know what right from wrong anyway. So when it comes down to money transactions or contract writing or negotiations, I'll get him on that part. But as far as integrity, he should have that inside of him.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we vote immediately, accept this person as he's got his license now, as a full qualification to be realtor.
We have a motion to accept and a second. Motion from Commissioner Horn, second from Commissioner Taylor. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? A motion was unanimous. Congratulations. And if Commissioner McMullen was here, he says it so well. Your broker is the one responsible for you, and you did see a little bit today, and you don't want to come back for any reason other than to get education and to visit for that reason. So listen to your broker, and we wish you the best. Thank you.
Well,
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. You're free. Thank you.
It's over.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Have a good afternoon.
You too. Be careful going back. So we will go to Executive Director's report.
Correct. And I have a couple numbers that I'm going to pass around to the group.
Okay.
I tried to say right.
All right.
So I'm sorry that you guys might have to share. I'll make sure to go over all the numbers, even if you don't have them right in front of you. But first, I just wanted to talk about staffing. As you know, Sherry is on an extended leave right now, and as you probably know, we are definitely feeling the loss of Sherry not being with us these last couple weeks. And I was joking with someone last week that Sherry is much better at her job than I am at her job. And so just ask that you bear with us as we are down a couple staff members. I did add on here that I have reached out for another temporary employee. I think at first we thought we could try to get through the time, but I think it's become evident that we really need that additional staff person. And so I have a request out for another temporary employee. So hopefully, fingers crossed that at the next meeting, I will have additional employee for you guys to meet. And Melissa is also supposed to be back March 12th. So hopefully at the next meeting, I will have good news on both of those topics. So the numbers that I just passed out are the complaints, the complaint numbers for 2014 to November 2017. This is a breakdown of the number of complaints. So from 2014, January 2014, until November 2017, there were roughly 1,890 real estate complaints. Of those complaints, 1,065, so 56.35%, were filed by consumers. 601, so roughly 31.8%, were filed administratively. So that would include the failure to supervise complaints. 161 were filed by licensees, and 3.3% were filed anonymously. So this is just kind of a rough breakdown over the last couple years. It gives us a good picture of who our complainants are and kind of what we're dealing with in terms of complaints.
Is there a way to know how many of those were dismissed?
So I was next going to go over the disciplinary action report. And I was only able to, for this meeting, capture 2017. So our disciplinary action report includes all orders that have been executed. So where the respondent has met the terms of the discipline, has either paid, completed the education. And so for 2017, real estate had 146 disciplinary actions. That's not exactly a full picture because that doesn't include the people that have not yet met the terms of their order. But it gives you a rough idea of the discipline that we did have. I broke down a couple of the numbers that were some of the more prominent violations. I didn't do a full breakdown, but of the 146, 13 were advertising, 31 were unlicensed, 22 were failure to supervise. So those were kind of the biggest numbers. And as we move forward, if these are numbers that you want to continue to see and be in the loop on, I'm happy to give you an idea of the breakdown and the numbers that we're seeing. Does anybody have any questions about those complaint numbers?
That's not near 146.
No, it's not. And I do have sort of the breakdown month to month. One number that I didn't include that is a lot, our disciplinary action report includes anyone that did not pay their child support or pay their student loans. They defaulted. And so we get a list. I think it's typically each week of any licensee. We work with 2 other departments, and they have a list of our licensees. And if somebody defaults on a student loan or they default on child support, we get that list and we put their license in suspension. And so they also show up on the disciplinary action report. So that's not discipline that you've taken, but it is. It does show up on our report.
Now, that's something I was totally unaware of.
Yes. So we do that for every profession in the department. So in my previous job, I was the one that helped coordinate between it's the Department of Human Services and TSAC, which stands for, do you know what TSAC stands for? So that's the one that student assistance. They send us. We send them a list of our licensees, our active licensees, and they use that with their database when licensees default. And so we see a number of these for each profession within regulatory boards. And as soon as they are compliant with their either student loan or their child support, we get the list back to remove the suspension.
Counterproductive to me. I mean, you remove the suspension. Or you suspend the license that allows them to make an income to make those things whole.
I think this is this in statute, do you know? So I think it's potentially so people take it seriously. I don't know the exact rationale, but we do the same thing with professional privilege tax. If the broker doesn't pay the professional privilege tax, then they also go into suspended status until they are compliant.
Is that a significant number?
Not for real estate. There's 3 professions in regulatory boards that comply with professional privilege tax. There's principal brokers, architects, engineers, and accountants. So actually 4. And of those numbers, we have a smaller pool of licensees that fit in that category. And so we see a fair number.
I would say you would be shocked at how many don't pay their privilege tax.
I was talking about the child support.
I can give you a rough idea. In January of 2017, 3 defaulted on their student loans and child support. March just had 1. February had 1. So for real estate, it's really not a large number. April, we had 2. Pretty much at least a couple every month.
I want to ask a question. Speaking of that, we didn't get our little report to sign this month. You know, our
timesheet.
What? Yeah, right.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about yes. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes. Aaron and I had spoken before the meeting, and I said as long as he gets that to you guys before the end of the day, or you'll be here tomorrow as well, we'll make sure that you get that signed. Yeah. So that's one of the many things that we are missing Sherry.
Right.
For.
Good. Commissioner Horn.
Yes.
Your microphone's not lit up. Sorry.
Let's light it up. I was a bit amazed and shocked about the child support. And what was the other category that was?
Student loans.
Student loan. What does that have? Would you explain how that fit into the profession model that we are trying to produce?
I think we'll pull the documents that require us to do that and where that falls from. But as soon as somebody is compliant, they're immediately put back into their status that they were in before they were suspended.
What I'm saying, if a person has a bad day with child support, then he can't sell anymore, or what does that mean?
It means that they're put into suspension. We'll gather more information.
In order to default on your child support, it has to be a court-determined action. So the court determines that you've defaulted. So I don't think this is like a one-time thing where they're like, you didn't pay, so we're going to suspend your license. It's a repetitive action. So therefore, we get documents from another department that tells us this person has been defaulting on their child support. Therefore, their license needs to go into suspension.
The thing that I'm just overwhelmed because I run into that being in church all the time. And it seems as though if somebody's license was suspended because of child support, you say, well, it takes time to build up a record like that. But it depends on how it happens, especially people coming from out of state. And they get sued out of state and they dump the whole thing on Tennessee. And the person just happened to be a realtor. What does that mean? Does he quit until he gets this straightened out?
If we receive the documents that they've defaulted, yes, they're in suspension and they cannot work during that time in this profession. And I think it comes along with it being a regulated profession. The same goes for attorneys. If we default on our student loans, my license goes inactive. So it's just a professional responsibility.
Or a nurse
or
understanding your way,
license.
That's revenue generating. But I just can't see something being transferred to another state, from another state to us. And we had a person not too long ago that the lady said she owed him for 3 years. And she put it in Tennessee, and we went down and talked to the judge, and they said, well, it's kind of rough, but that's the way they decided to go after it. And they finally did some kind of dance to keep him from losing everything. But I didn't never think that we would ever see it again, you know.
I didn't know we did it, but I think it's a great attention getter, frankly.
I'll do some information over lunch and present more after.
Ms. Maxwell, the one thing that does interest me is over 50% is from consumers.
That surprised you, or you?
Well,
thought
because
that?
I've heard other things, so maybe, and in thinking about it, maybe not that I was misled, don't get me wrong, but I had heard maybe it was just a category, that I had been told that there was a category, that it was licensees filing complaints.
So I think that's why they looked at 2014 to 2017, because if you look at it on a smaller basis, then the numbers might look more skewed in the favor of
categories like advertising or something like that.
Yes, if you looked at advertising violations, then just that number, then these numbers would probably be different.
Yes. So versus.
And these are all opened complaints. So like Rick said, this doesn't necessarily give you a picture of how many. I mean, I think we know now from our consent agendas that a lot of our complaints are being dismissed.
Very interesting. I like this.
Yes, yeah. We can thank Jenica for this. She pulled these numbers for all of our professions and regulatory boards so that we could get a picture of where all professions fall.
Does it look like the complaints are going up or staying level or going down?
I don't know that answer right now. I can go back and get with Jenica and look at it from 2014 to see, each year how many were opened. I think she could easily pull that for us, so I can present that to you at the next meeting.
It would be nice to know, for instance, if like advertising has been a big one. Now we've changed the advertising rules. Has it gotten better or worse? But also I think you said the high points were like unlicensed. Mm-hmm. Has that gone up or down? That would be a nice thing to do, and that's because that's one I really don't understand why anybody
does.
I think that they could get away with that one, but I know when we read these, I have my own concept of what seems to come up often, and it wasn't mentioned in here.
What is it?
A lot of timeshare complaints, for instance, and that's one thing that it's hard. I don't understand timeshares very well in the first place, so that may hit a brain cell because I have never dealt with them, but it does seem like we have an awful lot of issues that come up about them.
I'm not positive whether I could break it down to just include timeshare complaints, but I can definitely look into that to see. I think potentially it's like you think those stand out to you because they're not your subject matter.
That's right.
And rather than us having that many more timeshare versus regular.
Oh, and some I just, I do it all the time, so I kind of know how I feel about it. I mean, in timeshares, I really have to study it. Not that I don't study all of them, but that I don't know enough about it that I have to really do research more on my answers. Okay.
And it's interesting. Sometimes you run across things you're not expected to. I mean, the night before I left for Nashville, we received something home in the mail, and it was an offer to purchase property we own in another state, purchase and sale agreement. I was trying to figure out if they were licensees and their websites, and I mean, it was just you don't know what you run across, and it was very difficult to even figure out who was making an offer to us and what their hat was. And things.
I think we're seeing that a lot in Nashville as well, where people are getting offers in the mail.
Yeah.
Because they're in a prime location, and
yeah, it was surprising to us. So, well, this is interesting. I like this.
Okay. Well, I'll try to continue to keep you guys up to date on what we're seeing in terms of discipline and in terms of complaints and the breakdown. So we talked a little bit about this at the last meeting, but I wanted to bring up the TR spring conference, and I know we had discussed each commissioner bringing topics, things that we have changed over the last year, and I sort of wanted to get an idea of some of the topics that you wanted to present. That way we're not doubling up and we can have a good understanding. I had also spoken with Jennifer about getting numbers of who's going to come. I know many of you had responded.
I responded that I'm coming, but I found that I'm not going to be able to come.
Okay, so you're not able to come. Gary, are you able to come?
I am.
Okay. And Commissioner Hills, are you able to come?
Yes.
I know you had said you're not able to come. That's great. Okay. Commissioner Horn, do you plan to attend? This is for the spring conference. I don't know if public members have attended in the past.
Yeah, Austin.
Okay. Okay. So do you know if you're able to attend?
March 20th at March 20th at 1 o'clock at Cool Springs.
I certainly like the time.
Responded yesterday.
I know
that went out.
Commissioner Wood will be there, and Chairman Grease.
Marcia's usually.
Marcia.
Yeah. Yeah, Austin. I don't know, but she's right there. She seems like she would.
I think she's responded to say, I'll follow up with her, but I think she's responded to say she'll be attending.
I think the idea that they came up, I think Bobby came up with it, is a good idea, that we talk about the issues that we have come up here that are of interest in that, and then let them ask questions.
Do you have any topics in particular that you think would be pertinent for us to discuss?
I'm looking at your complaints here. Advertising, it always seems to be a big one, because I don't care if we had it written out point by point by point. There's something that people still seem to get so confused on that. So I think that would be certainly a big one to come up with. And we were emailed today or yesterday from Jennifer suggesting things for us to be prepared about, topics for us to be prepared about, but I forgot what they were.
I think we'd also like to talk about some of the changes that we've seen, 50-mile rule, some of the rule changes that have come up the last 2 years.
We need to double check, because some of that we presented on last year.
Okay.
That was the 50-mile rule was a big topic last year that they asked a lot of questions on.
Weren't we thinking about, I think we said it needed a rule change about the brokers being within 50 miles. That seems to be as big a problem as anything. Weren't we doing some research on that to come back with us?
I don't know that that'll get passed.
I think we talked about it, but I think we kind of decided that it probably wasn't the best time to
bring it up. All right.
About guarantees, claims, or offers, I don't think we've changed on anything. I'll have to look back on changes.
Well, you know, something that came up today was about the broker and the agent responding and thinking they both responded and not.
That was something.
It's just crazy to me, because every outreach I've done this last year, I presented on that at every one, and how you need to either state in there
and that you can get education when you come here.
I think potentially the full complaint process would be good. Us just walking through them coming in, how we handle them, and then also making sure we talk about responding on both parties.
Commissioner Horn?
I'm thinking that the public member concept is probably the most unique thing that I've seen on any board. But most of the realtors has no idea that that exists. And I think that program should be explained to them and let them know that everybody is not hunting cross T's and dotting I's, that there is some real concern to try to make this work the best to everybody's ability.
You get the public member view, that we have the public members on the commission.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a good.
I think that's a good thought.
idea.
Mhm.
I had just, with the advertising subject matter, maybe some subcategories of that would be, promotional items. I think sometimes there might need to be some clarification as to what is a promotional item versus what is true advertising, because the rules are obviously different for that, right?
So that's what I was saying, the
that's-
guarantees, the offers, the.
Yeah.
I got a lot of questions on what were promotional items and what were not.
One of my questions would be like, if you pay $1,500 or $2,000 to get a vehicle wrap, what are you required to put on your vehicle wrap? And I know that there are a lot of questions floating around with regard to those things. There's a lot of ambiguity with regard to that advertising rule, and then maybe make some clarification as to things like the one-click rule. You don't have to put all your information on a Twitter or a tweet, rather. As long as you can get to that information with one click. So those are some things I think would be good to present.
And confirming with everybody, you are able to attend Austin, and then so is Marcia for the spring conference.
March 20th, spring conference in Cool Springs.
Yes, I will
March-
be there.
Okay.
Are we discussing about questioning or
Topics.
topics?
Yeah, any topics that you think may be good?
At the last meeting, we Commissioner Wood had proposed that each commissioner
Right.
potentially present on something that they thought was of particular interest, rather sort of updating everyone on some of the changes.
Has anybody spoken with Russ Fair about that?
I've spoken with Jennifer.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And what did she say?
She said that would be fine.
Okay. I think there's two things in my mind that people have confusion about. One of them is the LLC, because I know a lot of real estate companies now have their businesses personally in LLCs. So that's one thing that we might discuss. And what was the other one?
We talk about property management. Okay, that was you.
I still see many violations on websites. They're not using the one-click rule. Okay, that was my other thing.
Probably a lot more maybe than others, but I think that we will be talking about commissions and who can pay the affiliates. We are having a lot of questions on that right now.
Really?
Yep, with title companies splitting the check between the broker and the affiliate. So
Well, and what I've been told about that, there is a cloud company, and I asked someone who is part of that about that, and what happens is they do all the paperwork before the closing. They know what the commission's going to be. We know what commissions are before the closings almost always. And so what's happening is, in this case, that the real estate company is cutting the check and they're sending it over to the closing to be distributed at the closing, but it's being distributed by the principal broker company. Now, there may be some other different business models that I'm not sure about, but that was one that I had questions about. So sometimes, it sounds bad on the surface, but then when you see how they're doing it business model wise, you can figure it out.
yeah, I don't think we've seen that one yet. Ours look pretty much like something that's not supposed to happen. All the questions that we're getting right now. So
Okay.
I think Caitlin's doing probably one a day.
It's certainly obvious that the
Really?
way business is being done is changing, ever changing, is it not?
Well,
A lot of questions. Apparently, there's been mixed messaging in the past. And so the message that we're communicating is that the commission has to go through the principal broker. That is in statute and rule. But we're getting a lot of questions. We got questions at the Clarksville outreach. I've gotten multiple emails over the last couple weeks. So it seems like
a topic of interest for a lot of people.
We had the hearing 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago with teams. Afterwards, there were questions. It seemed like afterwards, I don't know why they didn't ask at the hearing, saying that it appeared that team people thought they could pay, the head of the team thought they could pay and had been paying.
They can unlicense people.
Correct. Correct. But they thought they could pay, that they thought it was, and they got the money from the broker, and then they paid the licensed people, and that's how they dispersed the licensed people, not the unlicensed people. And they thought that was correct because they had gotten the money from the broker, the team leader, and licensed people. It's real simple. I mean, it's still a simple test question for a licensed person. Who can you take money from?
And all of our outreaches, we've had lots of outreaches in the last 2 years, and I'm sure that's a subject that comes up all the time too. So not everybody goes to the outreaches, I know, but and the more that we can drive that home, if a lot of times one broker will talk to another broker about things. So I think we just continue. You know, to me, I don't care what the business model is. That's really not my business. My business is the law and the rules of the state. And so if they're using the principal broker correctly, they're using their accounts correctly, all those kind of things, then I don't really care what their business model is, as long as they're following the law and the rules.
What concerns me is it seems like there's a number of principal brokers, let's say, that don't seem to be as involved, like they don't go to the meetings, they may be grandfathered, they're not up on their education or something. Do we have a way that we are reaching
Managing broker class?
Yes,
if they go?
Yeah.
We have quarterly meetings at Williamson County at our association for brokers only. And it's not driven by the Real Estate Commission, but they do talk about those kind of things.
But there are a number of people, as you will, I'm assuming, because it's the same thing, but it's usually still a number of brokers who don't go to
But you can't mandate it.
Yeah, so that seems to be an issue for me, is that the managing brokers, although they're supposed to be up on things, there are a number that aren't.
Well, while we can't really do anything about required education because of statute, you will see, though, when you go to Arello meetings, that Texas, for instance, has the most education required, 240 hours, and they meet half a day every other month. I mean, they don't have problems because the people have been educated. Now, you know, that would take the folks up on the Hill changing that, though. And so in any conversation I get to ever have with them, I like to have that conversation about it. Our hands are really tied on it.
I wonder if we could have some kind of conversation before the March meeting. Does it make a difference if the commission at the closing is the commission check, even if the broker told you what the split was? If the commission check was written by the title company or if the commission check was written by the broker previously?
Statute states that it's a violation for the affiliate to accept money commissions from anyone but their broker.
Right.
So it has to come from their broker.
That's how they're getting around that, I take it. So we have the answer for that, right?
Yeah, we have the answer, and we're providing it to everyone that asks, because most of the time we're getting either affiliates or brokers that are put in a situation where the title company wants to write the check to them and they don't want to accept it. And so they're calling us to make sure if they're in the right or in the wrong, if they're accepting it or not. So
the other issue is most closings are like a closing for the buyer and a closing for the seller nowadays. So if you're issued a check at the closing, it could be a dry closing. And I think that could be legally a cumbersome problem. If you took the check from the closing, went to the bank and cashed it, and the check was no good because the other side hadn't signed and the money hadn't been distributed yet.
So if you choose to have that business model, you would have to choose to take that chance as to whether it closes or not.
But I think we ought to caution them.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of our stance on it. I mean, I get people call me all the time and say, well, what if we do it this way? And I tell them, we're not here to tell you how to run your business. I'm just here to tell you that here's what the statute says. If you feel that you're falling outside of that, then you should probably change. But if you think you're okay, then you can continue to proceed.
Well, if everyone will think about any other topics, I think that'll be good, and we'll get with Ms. Maxwell. Ms. Maxwell, you have anything else in your report?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll turn it back over to the Vice Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you for taking charge in our absence. We made it back in one piece. So we've completed the Executive Director's report. We completed the informal appearance. Okay. What about Arello? Have you had a chance to look into that at all yet, or still thinking about that? Okay. Miss Hills.
Look, because I'm third down the line.
Miss Hills, are you still, you need to do some checking before you can confirm?
I'm thinking I'm passing.
Okay. Maybe during the lunch break,
Yes.
Miss Maxwell, if you wouldn't mind calling Mr. Woods and
Yes.
asking him his availability.
Okay. That sounds good.
Is Bobby before Fontaine?
I think that's
Yes.
right. Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't think I can give you.
Okay.
So I'll get with Commissioner Wood over lunch, and then
Okay.
if not, I'll get with Fontaine by the end of the week.
Okay. I don't see any of our disciplinary attorneys here. Are we going to need to take a break before they could come back and join us?
Yes. So the plans have kind of changed because we did not know how long
Yeah.
you would be away from us, and so we can get them to come back down.
Okay. Can they come back down before lunch, or?
We will take a break and we can find that out.
Okay.
If that works.
Very good. We will stand in recess for 10 minutes. Thank you.
Is it appropriate for us to just...
Ryan? Are we recording back there? Okay. Let's, believe we finished number 5 on your report.
We did.
Let's go to number 6.
2017-059241. Complainant filed alleging respondent has persons working who are acting as agents. Complainant is property manager and husband maintenance. I don't know what I meant by that. States people are fine and he fixes things. A request was sent to complainant and an email requesting names and no information, but all an email returned as email address provided not found. This was not sent out for any response due to the lack of information. Without names, it is difficult to determine what are the issues and difficult to secure any response. My recommendation then would be to close and flag should there be any additional information given to us or any additional complaints filed.
What you're saying is that the complaint didn't have enough information to really process it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're complaining about particular individuals as well. I have no idea who the individuals were, no names, nothing.
Was there a reason you didn't put this on the consent agenda,
Because I have it as close and flags opposed to purely dismissal.
just in case?
Yeah. Yeah, and I am not putting it, and if you guys want me to do something different, I will. But on the consent agenda, I'm only including those things that I'm saying dismiss outright.
Are clear.
Yeah.
I move to accept council's recommendation.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Franks, seconded by Ms. Taylor to close and flag. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 7, please.
Number 7, 8, 9, and 10 are all together. Number 7, 2017-062921. Complainant is buyer, respondent represents seller. Complainant states an offer was made but was never given to seller. Complainant states complainant contacted seller and then closing agent who also contacted seller to terminate contract offer and learned from seller that seller did not know about offer. Complainant attached an email from seller on a Thursday stating seller not aware of offer. Respondent states when offer came in from complainant's agent in this set below, respondent told agents that set expectations to seller's response as seller is a corporate real estate investment trust. Respondent states offers was submitted on a Friday afternoon and seller would not respond prior to Monday. Respondent states respondent told complainant's agent it was likely offer, which was very low, would not be accepted and asked if the complainant wanted to alter the offer before it was presented. Respondent states respondent was asked to wait for confirmation, but that complainant's agents did not respond despite contacts. Respondent states that when complainant's agent finally contacted, complainant had withdrawn offer and had sent an email directly to seller. A screenshot of text message to someone from respondent states respondent sending offer and to let buyer's agent know that seller will not really negotiate. The day of the week is Monday. The offer in question was signed on a Saturday. The offer was not sent to seller as the discussion was that the seller would not consider offer. Communication was sent to buyer's agent, whom complainant states was not complainant's agent. That seller would not consider offer and gave seller chance to raise offer. Respondent was apparently representing seller's position. Property listed by respondent and respondent below in one named office. An agent who presented the offer respondent is from another named office. Rule 1260.02.08 states all written offers shall be tendered every written offer, but this offer was such that it would not be considered, and complainant was given an opportunity to raise the offer, but apparently did not. And my recommendation for this particular respondent was to dismiss.
Move to dismiss.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Horn to dismiss. Discussion.
I really don't
Mr.
understand.
Taylor?
I really don't understand why we would say to dismiss this, because it was not the agent's right to not give the offer to the seller, regardless of what he thought the seller would do.
Well, I will say this. We have a development, and before our seller has told us, do not present any offers to me that do not have this and this and this and this. Don't even present them to me. So what we do is we lay them on the corner of his desk, and we tell him, this is one, but it doesn't have a letter of funds. And they just look at us like, and we're like, we have to. And they're like, he won't even respond back to it. He says, it's always a no. So we're able to tell people in advance, he will not even look at it unless you have these things. And sometimes it takes them 5-6 days to get us all of those things. And we do not present the offer until everything that's required for an offer is ready for our seller to take at the seller's direction. So maybe we don't know all the circumstances on this one.
In this particular case, I can tell you that the seller absolutely was not going to consider anything below, and the price offer was very low. And I think it was very much on the up and up between the two agents. Hey, it's not even going to be considered. Don't you want to change it? Don't you want an offer that will be considered? It won't even be looked at.
Right.
I think it's still a violation not to submit all offers to the seller. That's what our manual says.
It does say that. In this particular case, though, and maybe you're right. This is commercial.
I'll just tell him he's not going to look at it,
But
but I will submit.
The seller is not bound by those laws. Only
we
the
are.
realtor is.
But we are.
That's why we put it on the corner of his desk and tell him,
so
we
you are
have it, and he
submitting
says,
all
take it
offers.
away.
Yeah.
That's what I feel is like, we can't cherry pick the
No,
rules.
and-
We can't cherry pick the rules. And the rule says one thing, we've got to stick. That's our job, to stick with what the rule is. If he doesn't
You
accept,
also
that's
have to
fine.
go by what your seller tells you he wants to do, though. Now, that's two conflicting
Your
laws
instruction,
then.
lawful instruction from your client.
And later on, one of the respondents says that the respondent had talked to the seller on a previous offers that was higher, and the seller said would not take any extremely low offer and don't, basically.
Most people don't want to make their seller mad.
Yeah, this was a little confusing to me when I read number 7, but then when I read number 9, I thought it made more sense to me as to why they didn't present it. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion? All right, hearing none, let's vote on the motion, which is to dismiss. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no.
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the motion passes 4-2 with Commissioners Bloom and Taylor voting no.
Number
Number 8, please.
2017-062-951. Respondent is co-listing agent with above respondent. No response from respondent. There's no allegation against respondent except the respondent is being named as co-listing agent. Nothing to indicate any action or inaction of respondent as a licensee. However, respondent should have filed a response. Now, this is different. This is that they're named in it, they were sent to it, there was nothing from them, they weren't even included in any other response. That's why I'm recommending a $1,000 civil penalty for failure to respond.
Did they both get a letter?
Yeah.
Move to accept council's recommendation.
Motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Horn to accept the recommendation of a $1,000 civil penalty. Discussion. In my opinion, $1,000 seems like a lot to hit somebody with whenever you said there really wasn't an allegation against them. I understand the need to respond, and certainly where we have situations where I think there was one, we've talked about like maybe
Right.
3 of these. I think
Right.
the first one we sent a letter of warning, the second one we went with 1,000. The second one, it sounded like their failure to respond may have kept us from getting information that would have been relevant, that might have resulted in a further claim against them. That doesn't really seem to be the case here.
I agree.
And so...
I was just going typically.
I'll amend my motion.
Okay.
I'll amend my motion to $500.
Okay, it's been moved to amend the motion to be a $500 civil penalty. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Horn.
You still think that's high?
No, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
And I think that's probably fair. This seems to be a little more of a middle ground to me between the worst case and the best case. And so I'm okay with that. Thank you. Discussion? It's additional discussion? All right, so the motion is for a $500 civil penalty. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 9, please.
2017-061241, respondent's principal broker to the above licensees. Respondent states respondent below brought the offer and that respondent already talked with seller in a previous offer that was higher than the present offer. Respondent states seller stated seller would not take an extremely low offer and that respondent above informed buyer's agent and asked buyer to confirm with buyer if buyer wanted to raise offer. Respondent states buyer's agent, respondent below, informed respondent that agent would get back respondent, and this was the last communication from the agent. My recommendation was to dismiss.
Motion to accept council's recommendation.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner Franks to dismiss. Discussion? All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 10, please.
2017-061221. Respondent state respondent was complainant's agent, but that's disputed by complainant. States that respondent represents seller. Respondent state respondent met the complainant to show properties listed with respondent above. After viewing property, respondent showed other units, and complainant made an offer of $47,000 on a unit listed for $110,000. Respondent submitted offer to seller's agent. Respondent states complainant reason for low offer was that a unit had been sold for that amount. Respondent state respondent explained to complainant the sale in question had been a lease purchase and the renter had paid monthly for 6 years before the final purchase. Respondent states the offer was sent to the buyer's agent and that response from agent was sent to complainant. Respondent states the seller's agent sends text that sellers would not accept a half-price offer which was sent to complainant. In rebuttal, respondent states respondent was never engaged as agent and respondent worked as seller's agent. Offer was signed on a 9/9, which is Saturday, and it appears from all the responses that complainant was informed the offer would not be considered, and complainant was given an opportunity to raise offer, but did not. My recommendation was to dismiss.
I understand.
Bloom.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I understand that, but was there ever a confirmation of agency written by this agent?
Yeah, he was listed as the buyer's agent.
Oh, okay.
And signed.
And signed.
Move to dismiss.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Franks, seconded by Commissioner Hills to dismiss. Discussion? All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Ms. Hills.
Now, will there be a case open for the broker on this?
The affiliate broker, there was not a case open against the principal broker for this particular affiliate, no.
So 11 is different.
11, 12, 13 are all together.
11, 12, and 13. Okay, number 11, please.
2017-062-631. Complainant is seller of timeshare and respondent represented seller. Complainant states respondent was representing buyer too. Complainant states that paperwork for sale showed all parties involved were licensed to do business in U.S. and that closing was to be September 8th. Complainant states that Mexican government added
Could you
a new-
skip to the last paragraph and then
Yes.
your recommendation?
My recommendation was to close and flag so that if another complaint comes in or an address is found that we can use, matter can be pursued.
Because this respondent we haven't been able to serve them, is that right?
That's exactly right. We've got insufficient addresses for everything. We've all
Move to accept council's recommendation.
Motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Horn to close and flag. Discussion? All in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. The motion carries unanimously. Number 12, could you...
This number 12 is related to number 11. It happens to be the business portion of it. No response was filed, and all mail returned is not deliverable as addressed. And my recommendation, again, is to close and flag. If another complaint comes in or an address is found, then we can pursue the matter. Oh, I do indeed. 2017-063811. My apologies.
Okay.
Move to accept council's recommendation.
Motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Horn to close and flag. Any additional discussion? All in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. The motion carries unanimously. Number 13, please.
2017-062681. All mailed to respondent and the address included in this contract was returned. There is a licensee with the same name but a totally different address, and licensee is not a principal broker and not involved in any of this. So I don't know where the name came from, but again, close and flag, so if another complaint comes in, address is found, we can pursue the matter.
Move to accept council's recommendation.
Motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Taylor to close and flag. Discussion? All in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. Motion carries unanimously. Number 14, please.
Number 14 and 15 are together. 2017-065181. This is a referral from Consumer Affairs. Complainant is seller and respondent is seller's agent. Complainant states complainant could no longer afford home and retain respondent to assist in sale. Complainant signed a contract 8/29/16 for sale of home and was instructed to call mortgage company and did, and a closing date was set for 9/30/16. On 9/23/16, buyers visited home and found a note on the door stating home had been sold at auction on 9/16. Mortgage company informed complainant that while company had received voicemail called Ari the Sale, company had never received a copy of the contract. Complainant states complainant did not receive a copy until requesting it respondent in October. Respondent states the complainant had not paid mortgage in a year and that goal was to sell the home quickly. Respondent states respondent did all respondent could and assured home was in the best possible condition. Respondent states the complainant was in contact with the mortgage company and so told respondent. Respondent states respondent did not know company needed a copy of contract as that was not relayed to respondent. Respondent admits that a signed copy of contract was not sent to complainant at signing and was only sent after foreclosure. My recommendation was a $1,000 civil penalty for violation 62-13-312-8, failing to provide copy of the contract at the execution of that contract.
Questions or a motion?
Move to accept council's recommendation.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Horn to accept a recommendation of a $1,000 civil penalty. Was there any discussion or question about this one? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 15, please.
2017-065201. Respondent is principal broker to above. Respondent states the respondent did fail to provide complainant with copy of contract timely. Respondent states this was not brought to respondent's attention until a short time after property had been foreclosed. Respondent had affiliate check files to be certain, and there was no record of providing contract to the complainant. Respondent states that this failure was not the reason for foreclosure, but a failed communication with mortgage company and complainant. Respondent states affiliate and complainant agreed that since complainant already had a relationship with mortgage company, complainant would continue to handle communication. Respondent states affiliate was not aware of any pending foreclosure or auction. This information was not relayed to affiliate. Respondent states that respondent and affiliate did discuss the file when property was under contract and that when respondent had reviewed file and was aware of progress. Respondent states affiliate's failure to provide contract was not due to lack of training or supervision, as meetings are held every week and other lunch training meetings are also held. My recommendation is to dismiss.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner Horn to accept the recommendation to dismiss. Discussion? All in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 16, please.
Number 16 and 17 are related. Number 16, 2017-06-5571. Complainant states respondent and respondent below are acting as property managers without license. Complainant included a listing for rent of a condo as well as a list of evictions filed in court. No response was filed. The court matters were handled by attorney. Neither this respondent or respondent below are licensed with TREC. My recommendation is a $1,000 civil penalty for violation of TCA 6213-301, a license practice.
Motion to accept council's recommendation.
Do we always get a cease and desist with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, then we've got the motion by Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner Taylor for a $1,000 civil penalty and a cease and desist letter. Discussion?
Yeah, could we
Ms.
not
Willing?
make that $1,000 times the numbers of properties?
I can't be sure about that, and I would not be comfortable saying that. I can say that it appears that as a unit they are doing that. From the list from the court, it just says a property. I can't tell anything from it.
Hey, can we not add then failure to respond?
No, because they're not a licensee.
Hmm.
All right, any other discussion? Let's vote. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 17.
2017-065631. Respondent appears to be the business where respondent above was working. All mailed to this address, share with above respondent, returned, and no response filed. Again, a $1,000 civil penalty for violation of 6213-301, unlicensed practice.
So was this what kind of business was it that this was sent to?
It was sent to something that called themselves a management business, property management business.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion to accept council's recommendation.
Second.
Well, now, in that case, since they've been advertising for some time, evidently.
I don't have the proof of the advertising for some time. It's very limited what I do have. Nope. Not from what I have.
So the motion is by Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner Franks to have a $1,000 civil penalty. Any additional discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, vote no. The motion carries unanimously. Number 18, please.
2017-066381, pardon me. Complainant is renter and states that complainant has had numerous issues with the rental unit that have not been addressed by respondent who represents the property owner. No response was filed. Complainant letter emailed that issues had been resolved, but respondent should have filed a response. This is one where I am recommending a $1,000 civil penalty for failure to respond.
Motion to accept council's recommendation.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner Taylor to have a $1,000 civil penalty. Any discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, vote no. The motion carries unanimously. Number 19, please.
Number 19 and 20 are related. Complainant, 2017-067021. Complainant is licensee and states respondent had a sign in front of a home that did not say for sale or coming soon. Complainant called respondent, and respondent said it was a sign to advertise respondent services and placed in front of a friend's home. Respondent states the call was received on Friday, and respondent returned call on Sunday to and stated to complainant that respondent was not aware that the sign was not appropriate. Respondent immediately removed sign. The next morning, respondent called complainant to apologize again and thanked complainant for the information. Respondent states respondent is new to business, licensed in early 2017, and was trying to get respondent's name known in the neighborhood. Respondent provided a timeline, and that timeline shows that complainant posting complaint on Facebook, calling respondent an idiot, posted the day of the call to the complainant, and removal of sign. Respondent met with Principal Borough concerning this matter and learned that the signs purchased by respondent were not in current compliance, so that the signs were all destroyed and new signs purchased. Owner of the property did give permission for sign to be placed. While not exactly misleading or an exact address in the rules about advertising, respondent should be cautioned, and therefore I'm recommending a letter of warning.
Of council's recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Horn, seconded by Commissioner Hills to accept the recommendation of a letter of warning. Discussion? Do you have anything?
No, I'm just amazed sometimes at ideas people get.
Well, having said that, I looked at your rules carefully, and basically your rules are talking about when a property is being listed for sale or rent. This was not a listing for sale or rent. This is sort of like, call me if you want to do something, sign. So that's not covered quite so clearly.
Trying to make a
Drum up
living.
business.
Yeah.
Yep, and trying to drum up business. And this is a new affiliate, too, and this
Yeah.
affiliate did address it immediately.
And
A letter of warning's
the
adequate.
broker sort of stated that.
All right, all those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 20.
2017-067301. Respondent is principal broker to above respondent. Respondent states affiliate is new agent and that respondent has spoken regularly with affiliate concerning questions, but the affiliate had not had a listing and, at the time of this response, had first pending sale. When this issue came up, respondent states affiliate came to respondent and told respondent that sign was promotion, not unlike a billboard, and that affiliate did not realize it was not appropriate. Concerning the sign itself, respondent reminded affiliate that all signs and cards must be approved by respondent prior to ordering. Therefore, my recommendation is to dismiss.
Motion to accept council's recommendation.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner Taylor to dismiss. Discussion? All in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. The motion carries unanimously. Number 21, please.
2017, I'm sorry, 21 and 22 are related. 2017-067171. Complainant is homeowner and respondent is complainant's agent.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Go to the end in your
Last
recommendation.
Okay, this is, let me just put this on the record, please. This matter is in litigation, and the complainant's attorney filed a motion to amend the complainant. It is set for trial in October, and there are numerous issues, and therefore my recommendation for this matter is litigation monitoring.
Anybody want to make that motion?
So move.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Bloom, seconded by Commissioner Taylor for litigation monitoring. Discussion? All in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 22, same situation and recommendation,
That's correct, although
You
this is the principal broker, but that's 2017-067191, a litigation monitoring recommendation.
Move to accept council's recommendation.
We got a second from Mr. Horn. Motion made by Commissioner Franks. Any discussion? All in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed vote no. That motion carries unanimously.
2017-068051. Complainant is buyer and respondent is buyer's agent. Complainant states complainant met respondent in March of 2017 and respondent explained programs for first-time buyers, stating respondent needed $500 for earnest money, $250 for inspection, and $450 for appraisal, as well as a copy of the check stub, bank statements, and W-2 forms. Complainant states complainant was shown a house on March 8, 2017, and gave respondent a cashier's check for $1,200 and was later told the house was foreclosure. Complainant needed to pay another additional $500 up front, which was delivered to respondent. Complainant states sale did not go through, and respondent showed another home, and complainant did an offer for that home. Complainant states complainant never received a copy of that contract and was waiting for mortgage company to process same. During this process, complainant states respondent kept telling complainant that contract was being processed. Complainant states complainant drove by the house and discovered a family had moved in. In checking back with respondent, complainant told respondent that someone had moved in, and respondent stated it must have been a cash offer. Complainant did a contract on a third home and was told that respondent would try to speed up the process. Complainant left to visit daughter on July 8, 2017, and drove by that home again to find someone had moved in. Complainant called respondent and did not say anything, but respondent told complainant that complainant needed to pay an additional $316 to complete transaction, to which complainant asked why would that be necessary, as someone had moved in. Complainant asked for money to be returned, and respondent told complainant that money be returned on July 15th, and that respondent filled out form, but form had no logo. Respondent told complainant for weeks that respondent was waiting for forms to go through. Respondent told complainant that respondent's escrow account was on hold and that respondent was going to court. Respondent later told complainant that the court took the escrow account and that respondent would issue a refund on September 6. Complainant reached out to friend of respondent, who states that friend would loan the money to respondent for a refund. Complainant called friend today, and friend told complainant that respondent had stated the refund had been given to complainant, although complainant received nothing. No response was filed. This license was revoked in January of 2017, and the license expired in March of 2017, so the actions of this respondent were all unlicensed action. The order revoking license is still pending in Chancery Court, but no stay was granted after revocation order, and I will tell you all that it's now been appealed to the Court of Appeals. My recommendation is a $1,000 civil penalty for violation of 62-1331 and referral to the district attorney for criminal action for unlicensed practice and theft.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Taylor for $1,000 civil penalty. Discussion. Commissioner Horn.
I'm just wondering, when they give them a fine or something should be satisfactory to fit the crime, and they want to appeal, should we take that into special consideration? Because I think they could have ended this from right here, but now they're appealing and they're tying up the whole thing.
Actually, this is a different process. This is a whole different set of complaints than the one that's being appealed. The one that's being appealed was set on a whole different set of facts and matters and complaints, and it was properly before the Chancery Court, and the way the Chancery Court handled it, it was dismissed, and they're appealing the dismissal from the Chancery Court. This is a result of some other person against the same person. This is another complainant against the same person that had their license revoked.
Bloom.
Yes, I just had a curiosity question. Can the court take a company's escrow account, that is money of others?
Well, I'm not sure what he was talking about there. I'm not sure any of it. I'm certain that the court could seize some of it and then hold it in the court for people to come forward. I'm sure the court has that power, but they can't take it and keep it, no, because it is money belonging to others. But I'm sure they could set up an account. Now, you could ask your attorney, who might even have more personal experience with that than I do. But no, they can't they can't take the money, but then the claims could be filed against it if it's in court.
I wonder if we could consider 62-13-312, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which says that you're taking money of others.
But he's not a licensee at this point.
So none of those would apply?
None of those would apply.
Wow. How in the world can we get people who are practicing real estate without a license more involved? And I mean, we're not going to get anybody's attention with $1,000.
You're right. The way to get any unlicensed person in any practice to pay attention, frankly, is if criminal charges are filed and pursued. The problem is that district attorneys have a lot more serious cases as a general rule. And in this particular case, I think there's just not unlicensed practice, but there's outright theft that could be proven. And so I think the district attorney might be more interested than normal. But to be honest with you, the thing that gets most attention is when someone unlicensed gets caught by the criminal system and is punished for it. I know that for a number of years we had unlicensed locksmiths, and they did a bunch of stings, and I think, I'm not positive, I don't know, do you do locksmiths? Okay, well, we used to do them, and that the count in the locksmiths complaints for unlicensed is down. So having said that, I can't guarantee a district attorney is going to look at it. It really depends on where the district attorney is, what the issues are. I firmly think in this particular case, because the license was revoked, so we don't have just somebody out there being stupid, uneducated stupid. This is an educated stupid. And they were practicing without a license, and they took money. I think it might get their attention. I cannot promise that.
But with Mr. Bloom's question, I'm sorry, with Mr. Bloom's question, could we tack that to the principal broker on the next case?
Yes, ultimately, but no response was filed. So the big issue right here in this particular case is failure to respond, because I don't have anything more than that. I just got allegations.
And was it when they had an active license that were involving the principal broker now?
This was filed against the principal broker, and no response was filed. I don't know if the principal broker released this affiliate. I don't know anything because the principal broker didn't respond.
Still should have responded.
Should have responded.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry to have
That's
jumped
okay.
ahead, but
I agree with you. This is
capture.
And quite honestly, I'll be honest that often when we do complaints and file and get judgments against unlicensed persons, it'll go to collections, and sometimes we get collected money and sometimes we don't. It's very difficult to get the attention. It's not just real estate, mind you. It's all licensees who do unlicensed practice. It's a difficult thing to monitor.
Just looking at what a broker, you have to have a license to do, talks about soliciting, negotiating, or attempting to solicit or negotiate a listing, sale, purchase, exchange, lease, or option to buy, sell, or rent real estate. Do we just have one instance of that here, or do we have any evidence that might support more than one action that would have required a license?
I don't have enough details to show more than one. I show that he was representing this one person, and there were 3 proposed sales, but it depends on how you look at it. I don't have any contracts. I can't show that there were 3 sales. I can show that this person said money was paid for various things, but I can't show anything else. There's no contracts included to show absolutely this was a separate contract, this was a separate contract. It is implied from the complainant, but I don't have enough to say absolutely that was it.
So did the complainant pay more than just the one check of $1,200?
Yes. Uh-huh.
All right, so that's 2 occasions then.
Well, giving money, if it's on 2 different proposed contracts.
It's like 2 cases
To me, if the so correct me, and I know I'm jumping ahead again on the broker case. I would think we could go ahead and base the complaint. This is a complaint that's still on the broker, also, because.
But remember, I hear what you're saying, but I don't have copies of any contracts. I don't have copies of any checks.
Oh, okay. All right.
I just have the complainant's statements.
Okay.
And I'm giving weight to the complainant's statements in this case.
Okay.
Based on the history that I already know.
All right.
Did you ask the complainant for those things?
I don't know if they were asked or not. I mean, I get it at the end.
All right, who would ask that?
Oftentimes it's asked by the program for Ask More Information. I don't know.
All right, so wait a minute. There's a disconnect here.
Complaints come through us to the complaint office. I'm sorry, I should say there's a centralized complaint group. I don't know what they do and whether they ask for more or not.
They just send a basic letter that asks.
So did we do that or not?
It didn't
Nobody
come to me with
knows?
any reach out to the complainant. I took this as what was presented by. To me, there was enough egregious activity there to say there's unlicensed practice going on. We can hit him with more money, and you're certainly welcome to do that. You can hit him if you want to do that.
But that's the maximum for one civil penalty. That's why I'm trying to get at more than
Yes.
one.
Now, having said that, please remember that this is still in litigation. The license is still in litigation. And if it is determined that the license should not have been revoked or there's some fault with any of that process, then that license would go back to that time and that person would not be considered unlicensed during any of this. I'm just saying. I'm trying to be very careful on how we handle it because of all the dynamics involved. I understand the need to be aggressive about it, which is again why I am pushing that we try to let the district attorney be aggressive, because I can list all the particular statements saying these persons were paid these checks.
But if that's all you've got when you send it to the district attorney is going to say,
The district attorney will
where's everything
contact the
else?
complainant and get copies of, quote, checks and may pursue it that way, if they're interested. I can't say they're going to be interested. I'm happy to do more than $1,000 civil
I just thought we did more investigating than that.
Well, sometimes we do. But again, from what we have in this particular case, this was really an issue of what this person was doing after the license was revoked. And because of the pending issue of that particular order, I approached it the way I thought was best, considering all the dynamics.
We have previous civil penalties, 2010, 2011, and it was sent to individual.
I don't know.
Have a motion on the floor? I can't recall now. Somebody want to make a motion?
I was trying to get to what's the maximum we could give them. Can we give them more than 1,000?
Well, it seems like we've gone there, and what we're hearing is, based on the information we have, no.
In a nutshell, this complainant says that the complainant was interested in more than one home and paid escrow money for more than one home, but I believe also that money was applied to the next one. Is that a separate individual action?
It's a separate negotiation.
Well, okay, if you want to consider that separate negotiation, then I think you could say at least 2.
All right, so did anybody already motion?
I don't recall.
Okay,
that
so
we had a
I'm gonna recommend.
Was there a motion, Caitlin?
Motion by Franks and
Okay.
a second by Taylor.
Okay. You wanna
I'm
amend
going to
your
amend my motion, my
Yeah, emotion.
emotion to a $2,000 civil penalty for both failure to respond.
Okay, I can't do
Well, you
failure to
can't do
respond.
that.
No, no, excuse me, not that one. I'm down too far.
2,000
Um,
for unlicensed activity
for unlicensed activity, two cases of that.
and referral to the district attorney.
Yes.
You want to second that, Commissioner Taylor?
Hoping you would ask. Yes.
Okay. We got a motion and a second for $2,000 civil penalty, referral to district attorney. Discussion, additional discussion, Commissioner Horn?
Yes, here back the public enemy again, and that is that I think our counselors did a good job. It looked like the punishment fit the case, and for us to witch hunt, to say, well, can we do this? Can we do that? Can we do this? Is not, to me, putting the confidence in their proficiency that we should be. And I think that we should go along with counsel.
But I think it's our responsibility. It's our responsibility if we see more than one offense that we bring that up too. I mean, it wasn't a witch hunt. This is an unlicensed
That was
person
just-
who's
forgive me
had
for
all
those
kinds of
words.
history.
No, I agree. There's some very brilliant people on this board. I agree that. And I know that anytime you look at it differently, they're going to tell why they put forth what they did, and I think so. But the idea, again, still, I think, is a public member that I would, in good conscience, recommend that it stay as it is.
All right, any additional thoughts or discussion? Let's vote. We're voting on $2,000 civil penalty. All in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. The motion carries 5-1 with Commissioner Horn voting against. Let's do 24.
2017-068091. Respondent was, at one point, the principal broker to above, and someone in respondent's office signed for delivery of complaint, but no response has been filed. Now, the reason I only did $1,000 for failure to respond is because I don't know if this person was released. I don't know what the principal broker did or didn't do because they didn't respond. I can tell you that at one point in some of this, that was that affiliate, and I don't know what happened after that. And if the principal broker had responded, we could have found out a number of things, but they did not. That's why I have it just $1,000 for failure to respond.
Unlicensed person have a principal broker?
No, they cannot, but that's what I would have liked to have heard, that this was not then, but the principal broker could have come back and said, gone from my office.
Because this unlicensed person was a principal broker.
But they had a principal broker?
They had a principal broker,
How'd
That's
that
the
work?
information I got, yep.
Yeah, so that's
Also-
not right.
I know.
A principal
So that's
broker
right.
can't have a principal broker.
I don't know
if it ever went down to affiliate or what.
Well, that license was revoked. I again.
I know.
I don't
I know.
open the complaints. I don't get that information exactly. This is the information that was relayed. So this is the person listed as a principal broker in that office.
It just seems so wishy-washy.
You could probably do a license lookup. And are you connected
But
to the internet?
The thing is, if the member, if the public comes there and thinks they're doing business with that company, that's the key. Who the principal broker is at the time. That's the key.
And in this particular case, I will say that the name of the company is Joe and Joe, and the name of the respondent is Joe.
Okay.
So it is confusing at best, which was why it would have been very helpful if this principal broker had come back and explained anything. It could have been dismissed.
Motion to accept council's recommendation.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner Horn for a $1,000 civil penalty. Any further discussion? All in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. That motion carries unanimously. This time we'll stand in recess until 1 p.m.
Oh, I just have two more.
No, you got some.
Okay.
We'll get it. We'll get it then. All right. Thank you all. We are back in session. It's 1 p.m. I think we are up to number 25. Is that correct?
That's correct. Before we go on, I just wanted to tell you all that we are working on communications about complaints and things so that we can better understand. Sometimes come up, we have non-understanding. And I also want to tell you that this month I was home, and I was working from commuter home, and I didn't have a program called CORE, which has some of the other answers in it. But Caitlin's really interested in learning about all of this beforehand so that we can have intelligent conversations before you even hear some of it. So we're working a system to get that in place as well. And to tell you, there is a hearing tomorrow. There is a hearing next month, which is March. There's a hearing in April. There's a hearing in July. There'll probably be a hearing in June. Just to let you know.
So just so I'm clear, I'm a little dense today. You do have the right and the authority, though, to ask a complainant or a respondent for additional.
Yes, if I think it's important, I do ask for
Okay.
it. I mean, and in the one case that we were looking about, I didn't think it was as crucial based on what the information I had and the issues we were dealing with. Oh, yes, we have the authority to do that. And mind you, we do.
You need to
Oh, we all
have
do.
it.
Yeah, we will reach out to either complainant, respondent. Sometimes, and in fact, if I don't get a response from a complainant, I usually put that in my reports that they didn't give me the information I sought. Okay, number 25 and 26, both of these were presented in December. Number 25, 2017 040031. Complainant is out-of-state resident who states respondent and respondent below represents selves as licensed commercial realtor in Tennessee. Realtor. Complainant further states that respondent came to another state with hot checks. That respondent states respondent was planning to run for president and to replace a state senator. No response was filed. A research shows the page stating respondent is chairman of property company below, and the company does property management in Tennessee, Michigan, New York, and Louisiana. No properties are listed, but the ad states that respondent below can take care of property repair and handle property. The original recommendation was a $1,000 civil penalty for engaging in real estate capacity without a license. Update is all mail to respondent and respondent below has been returned. A clear report, and by the way, a clear report investigates all known addresses, associations, affiliations. A clear report was run with no results for this respondent or respondents below's name. Further research online found no address, but did find news article about a person with the same name, and article states that not real name. Article stated police were sent the addresses provided for respondent below and found no one by that name at that address, and no other addresses have been found. So my new recommendation is to close and flag should any address be found or a new complaint is filed.
Move to accept council's recommendation.
We have a motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Taylor to close and flag. Discussion. What's the difference between having a $1,000 civil penalty consent order out there and a close and flag?
Well, if you don't answer a consent order, it then goes in litigation. Then we have a trial, and I still have to get service on that person for a trial. So if I don't have a good address and I can't find a good address, I try to nip it in the bud and try to let you know at this end of it. But if we close and flag it and we get a good address, we can reopen this again and go forward.
Any other questions? Let's vote. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, vote no. Motion carries unanimously. Number 26, please.
2017 040051. Respondent is the name firm above. Again, the original recommendation was a $1,000 civil penalty for unlicensed practice. New recommendation is close and flag should any address be found or a new complaint is filed.
Move to accept council's recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Hills. Close and flag. Discussion. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Ryan.
Glad to have you back.
Thank you very much. I'm
Yeah.
glad to be back. Trust me.
Ms. Smith,
Yes,
you have some cases for us?
I do.
Number 27, please.
That's 2017056-741. Complainant is a licensee who provided screenshots of postings made on Facebook by respondent where he identifies himself in his profile as a, quote, property property manager for a company, end quote, the manager of a real estate portfolio of long and short-term commercial and residential properties, and thus it appears the respondent is conducting activities without the required license. Another post provided states respondent is headed to a city in Tennessee to, quote, check out 14 homes and multi-units that his employer just put under contract, as well as stating, quote, I have a client that's looking to rent a 1-bedroom, 1-bath in a certain city for a month. Does anyone have something ready to move in today for less than $1,000, end quote. Another statement reads, quote, about to network with some epic people to see how I can help add value to them in real estate, end quote. And another asks if anyone can help him step up his company's game regarding Airbnb rentals. There are a few more posts that confirm the allegations made in the complaint as far as the statements respondent is making on Facebook and the manner in which he is holding himself out to be to the public. Respondent states he is currently an independent contractor who is only employed to do strictly clerical work for a real estate company. Further, he states he has never received any commission, negotiated any real estate transactions for the company or any other person. Respondent also states he just started working for the company in July and was excited about the job, and although his English may not be good, he did not intend to misrepresent himself or his employer in an unlawful way, and he will make sure not to come across in a way that may lead the public to think he is engaged in unlicensed real estate activity in the future. Counsel finds clear evidence that respondent is holding himself out to be a property manager for a real estate company that he does work for and is engaged in unlicensed activity, therefore recommends a civil penalty, and the recommendation is a consent order with a $1,000 civil penalty for unlicensed activity and a cease and desist statement.
If I were the principal broker, I would want to know about this. And not that I'm wanting to bring them up as being involved in it, but, and it may not even be our place to do this, but it seems like that person needs a letter, or the principal broker, so that they know what they're doing. So when we send one to this person, did we send one to the broker also, the principal broker also? Since they don't have a principal broker? Really?
No, we do not.
Well, I move to accept council's recommendation.
Go ahead. Well, do you have more to your motion?
No.
Okay.
No.
Motion to accept council's recommendation by Commissioner Frank. Second?
Okay.
Hold on. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Taylor. Commissioner Bloom.
Well, so the civil penalty is for unlicensed activity?
Yes.
Okay, he did that 3 times in 3 ads. He's looking for $1,000 rental. He's looking for this epic situation, and he's trying to rent an Airbnb. So I'd like to recommend that we have a consent order of $3,000 civil penalty for unlicensed activity and cease and desist statement.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Bloom. I'll take that as a motion to amend the original motion, and is seconded by Commissioner Taylor for a $3,000 civil penalty. Ms. Smith, were you going to say something? Or is there a discussion or question about that?
If the commission feels like the quotes that I've presented are 3 separate instances of unlicensed activity, then no, I do not have any comment. I was worried that this maybe didn't rise to 3 clear instances of unlicensed activity.
Was it 3 different postings on Facebook, or was it all in one posting?
No, they were separate postings. They may have been in the same day.
But that's 3 different
yeah.
occasions then.
So, but back to your question, Marcia. So, if he works for a real estate company,
who gave him direction for those prices, to put it on Facebook? Is it something he just did himself at home one night, wanting people to realize he's in the real estate business, or what?
or is he copying the company's
From
or
what
sharing?
I can tell, number one, he appears to be very young. I believe he just moved to this country and got this job. I do not believe that his company has any clue he's doing this. It's on his personal page. It seems that he is trying to show off, if that is okay to say.
That's what I was thinking.
That's why normally I would recommend 3,000. But I didn't feel like he was. The only thing I felt like I can really prove is that he's stating, I'm a property manager. The other things, they're not, I think it can be argued that it's definitely unlicensed activity, but I feel like it was just him trying to show off. And I do feel like he is not fluent in English. I feel like his response was pretty good in English, but the way he posted things, I truly don't think he understood.
There's a lot of stuff going on with Airbnb and VRBO and all of those. I stay at those a lot, and I'm always wondering, is this person a realtor, or what is this? It's not always the owner that's advertising. I'll just say that.
Right.
I know that's becoming an issue in Nashville for sure. But this is all that's before us.
But I guess I'm still wondering, with this, so why we wouldn't reach out to the broker of the company to say you have someone that works for you who is claiming that they're property manager.
I believe we have the authority to administratively open a complaint against the company and present this information to them and afford them an opportunity to respond. It doesn't mean we have to discipline.
I don't know if it rises to the occasion of a complaint, though.
Just a letter.
A letter or something.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Just
make you aware.
There's so many times
This
that
has
I would
come
love to
up.
be able to call a principal broker, but I can't do that as a commissioner.
Right.
But administratively, that could be done.
Well, now, one thing, if we fine him $3,000 or $1,000 or whatever we fine him, broker will know that, right?
No, it's unlicensed.
Unlicensed.
That's the point of the letter.
That's the
I
whole
think.
point of
Yes.
letting their broker know, because he's working for a broker.
And claim that he's property manager.
If you opened a complaint, I guess they could say, I didn't know anything about this, and we could dismiss it. I just don't know what the
Probably what they would say.
proper avenue would be. I guess we're looking for attorney advice on this one.
Well, if you have a complaint against a licensee, if it's unlicensed activity, he's under a broker somewhere doing this.
But he's not a licensee, so.
What can we do?
My suggestion would be, if you want to do something with the broker, that we open an administrative complaint and allow them the time to respond, and then you can go from there, whether you want to send them a letter just saying, hey, we think you should be aware of this. It could be a letter of instruction versus a letter of warning at that point, if you decide to go that route.
I like that. That's what I'm looking for, is that.
Yeah.
Well, should we wait then on making a decision about this complaint until that complaint is
So,
open and we get the response?
That's completely up to you. If you think that you have all the facts in front of you to make a decision on this one, you can go ahead and do that, so she can close it out and get this person taken care of, and then we can open the administrative complaint against the broker that they're working for.
I think we should go ahead with this person.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion on the table right now that's a $3,000 civil penalty with a cease and desist letter. Any additional discussion about that? All right, then let's vote. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed vote no.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to vote no. The motion passes with Hills and McMullen voting no. Next up is number 28.
So are we doing the letter?
We're doing a cease and desist letter to this unlicensed person, and we are
I mean, doing a letter to the broker.
And then we're going to open an
against
administrative
the broker.
complaint
Okay.
against the broker.
Okay, thank you.
Right?
Is it a complaint or is it a letter of instruction?
We'll open it as a complaint and allow them to respond, and then Erica can present it with the recommendation for a letter of instruction.
And just so I'm clear, do we want to open an administrative complaint against just the principal broker and or the firm?
Not the firm.
Just the principal broker. Okay, and then I'll present that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to bring charges against a firm because, I mean, what the firm, I mean, you know, the broker's in charge of that firm.
Let's go on to number 28.
2017057-611, and I want to make a correction where it says type of license unlicensed. This is a firm, and they are actively licensed. An anonymous complaint was received alleging respondent is a property management company practicing without a firm license, soliciting owners through their website, paying referral fees to non-licensees per the website, and practicing as a vacation lodging service without a license. Screenshots of the website's various pages were provided, and one in particular states, quote, "Do you know someone who could benefit from full-service property management? Refer someone and earn an easy $300, end quote. Another screenshot shows respondent is advertising for short-term rentals. Respondent provides their license number and their principal broker's license number, and both licenses are active in our system. Respondent states they were unaware they could not provide a referral fee to those who refer business, and further states the offer was intended to give incentives to licensed agents who refer their clients' asset management to respondent, but has since removed the statement and offer from the website and will no longer allow this to continue. Respondent also states the short-term rentals are all owned by the licensee who advertises them and works for Respondent, but Respondent has since removed the short-term rental advertisements from their website. Counsel finds clear evidence that Respondent violated Tennessee Code Annotated Section 62-13-302 by offering referrals and recommends a civil penalty. And the recommendation is a consent order with a $1,000 civil penalty for violation of Tennessee Code Annotated 62-13-302.
And what is that violation?
The statute.
I see the number, but what does it say?
The statute reads, a real estate licensee shall not give or pay cash rebates, cash gifts, or cash prizes in conjunction with any real estate transaction. As part of the Tennessee Real Estate Commission's general rulemaking authority, the Commission may regulate the practices of real estate licensees regarding gifts, prizes, or rebates that are not otherwise prohibited by law.
I move to accept counsel's recommendation.
Motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Taylor for $1,000 civil penalty. Questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Bloom.
So they acknowledge they shouldn't be giving this referral, and evidently you told them that, or they found that out somehow, or how'd that happen?
They did not realize that it was a violation until they received a copy of this complaint.
But they quit doing it.
And then as soon as they stated in their response to the complaint that they took it down from the website, the offer for the referral fee, and then when I went to check it, as soon as I got that file, it was removed from the website. So I can't confirm they did it when they said they did, but it definitely is gone.
So they did it, but they corrected it.
Right. And they stated that they would not do that again, and they understand it's a violation.
Well, I think $1,000 is pretty heavy for that.
You want to amend it?
Send them a letter. They've already agreed that they shouldn't have been doing that, and they quit doing it. Just tell them, don't ever do that again in a letter.
So we have a motion to amend by Commissioner Bloom to make it a letter of warning instead of a $1,000 civil penalty. Is there a second for that motion? Seconded by Commissioner Douglas. Any discussion about letter of warning as an alternative? Commissioner Taylor.
I'm thinking this through. I know he's done it multiple times.
Use your microphone, please.
He's done it multiple times, and I'm sure it says he wasn't aware, and that's the but that's the same in advertising or something else. You're not aware, but you're still doing it, and it's wrong. And I think just a letter of warning is a little bit too lenient. I think if you have a little bit more to it, teeth in it, there's no way he's going to get over it soon. So I would. The letter of warning is too little for me. That's what I'm saying.
Can you amend another time?
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we take a vote on the letter of warning? And if you think that ought to be more, we'll vote no, and then we can have a new motion at that point. But let's go ahead and let's get a vote on letter of warning and see if there's enough people on board with that to deal with it that way. Okay? So let's vote. If you want to do a letter of warning, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote no.
No.
That motion passes 4-2 with Commissioners Hills and Taylor voting no, in the opinion of the chair, unless somebody thinks otherwise. Okay.
Yes, that was
I think it's 5-2.
Do we have 7? Yeah, you're right. I don't know how to count. We had 6 at lunch.
How do you do that?
Yeah, that was it.
Here.
We missed you. You could have come had a barbecue sandwich with us.
But y'all didn't tell me. Y'all just slipped out.
6 people slipped out.
We're good.
Okay. Last one, 29.
2017059991. Complainant alleges respondent sold him a timeshare under false pretenses and through misrepresentation and verbal deceit tactics. Complainant purchased 2 contracts with respondent in relatively quick succession when he was using an exchange service and his other timeshares' yearly fees had become unmanageable. Complainant states respondent promised that they had little to no annual fees, which ended up being $1,200, and that they would reimburse complainant for 2016 maintenance fees due to his other timeshare he was trading. But complainant has not received the promised reimbursement. Complainant alleges respondent never confirmed that the transfer occurred, but did not receive a 2017 maintenance bill from the old timeshare, so he can only assume the transfer was completed. Complainant sent respondent a letter requesting they cancel the 2 contracts, listing the allegations mentioned above as reasons to be able to get out of the contract due to fraud. Complainant did not provide any documentation or evidence to support the allegations made in this complaint. Our office sent this complaint to respondent via certified mail and notes the return receipt shows a signature and delivery on September 13th, 2017. Respondent has not responded to this complaint. Council recommends a civil penalty because respondent failed to respond to this complaint. The recommendation is a consent order with a $1,000 civil penalty for failure to respond.
Motion to accept council's recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner Franks for a $1,000 civil penalty for failure to respond. Does a vacation lodging service have to respond to a complaint?
That question myself, and I did verify that they do.
Who? Okay, thank you. Okay, so the motion is $1,000 civil penalty for failure to respond. Any discussion? All in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Ms. Smith, thank you very much. Good job. And that brings us to the end of the agenda for today. Are there any other matters that anyone wants to take up today?
Austin, while you and Marcia were out, we discussed the DAR and what is included on the DAR. And so I did a
Daughters
little...
of the American Revolution.
Yes, exactly.
That's all I'm coming up with.
The disciplinary action report that's filed on our website every month. And Caitlin informed some of the commission members while you all were out that not only is that the penalties that are imposed by this commission, but it's also defaults on child support are included on there and defaults on student loans, because once that happens, we suspend their license. And so I did pull the code sections, and there are code sections in TCA 56.1.109 and 36.5.706, which state that under the TDCI, the Commerce and Insurance Department, we are required to suspend those licenses once we receive final notice from those agencies. So there's really no way around it. It's statutory that we're required to do so. So.
Why don't we go ahead and do commissioner comments now, or any other issues? Oh yeah, the little thing we need to sign?
I've got that
Got
right
those?
here.
Okay.
In addition, I confirmed with Bobby he is not able to attend Rillo.
Okay.
So, Fontaine, if you will look at your calendar and we can get together at the end of the week. Okay.
And we'll
Would
just
there
have to
be
start
any
back
kind
around.
of, is there any kind of motion or anything that you need? Because it was McMullen and Douglas last month. We're both out. I think everybody is in agreement with Frank's, and then it's just a question of can Taylor go, right?
Correct.
Taylor doesn't go, you know, who's.
Horn, you wanna go?
You could probably just make a motion that you would like
What's
to
that?
send to commissioners, and that matter will be determined on whose schedule works out. So
That's good.
I hear a motion to that effect.
I make the motion.
Okay. Commissioner
I feel
Taylor
like I
makes the motion. Commissioner Douglas, you seconded that, correct? All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. Any other matters to come before TREC today? Hearing none, we will be adjourned until tomorrow morning at 8:30. Is that correct?
I
9?
believe the ALJ does not come till 9.
Is it 9?
9.
9. All right. See you at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Gold star today, don't we?
Hi.